Perhaps it's the color of the sun cut flat and covering the crossroads I am standing at. Or maybe it's the weather or something like that. Mama, you've been on my mind. I don't mean trouble, please don't put me down, don't get upset, I am not pleading. There is no place I'm calling you to go. I do not walk the floor, bow down and bend, but yeah, Mama, you've been on my mind. Even though my eyes are hazy and my thoughts, they might be narrow, where you've been, don't bother me. Don't bring me down with sorrow. I don't even mind who you'll be waking with tomorrow. Mama, you've been on my mind. When you wake up in the morning, honey, look inside your mirror. Do you know I won't be next to you? You know I won't be near. I'd just be curious to know if you can see yourself as clear as someone who has had you on his mind. Well, maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat and covering the crossroads that I'm standing at. Or maybe it's the weather or something like that. Mama, you're just on my mind. Maybe it's the weather or something like that. But Mama, you're just on my mind. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rock. May you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous and stand upright and be strong. May you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of changes shift. May your heart always be joyful. May you stand upright and be sound. May you stay forever. Forever young. Forever young. You stay forever young. Your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. May you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. Baby, stay forever young. I give thee all I can no more, no poor me freely. My heart and liver, all the store that I can give to thee. A lute whose gentle song reveals the soul of love full well. And better for a heart that feels much more than it can tell. song may fail the last to keep life's clouds away. At least 'twill make the rider pass or kill them if they stay. And even if care at moments flings a discord o'er life's happy strand, oh, let love but gently touch the strings, will all be sweet again. Oh, let love gently touch the strings, will all be sweet again. Greetings, 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 friends. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? I hope all is well. My usual hope. Yeah. 3 lovely songs there. Let me just comment on them after my greetings. The first one was Mama, You've Been On My Mind. I'm going to go through, definitely going to go through the lyrics there, because first time I sang that song 20 years ago, more than that even. So looking at the lyrics again, even from the opening line, it's about a flat earth. So that was the first one. The second one was another Bob Dylan song, Forever Young. That was a request from Cigar Face. So I hope you enjoyed that, man. And the last one again, the usual that accompanies me with my hangouts, my heart and lute. And I tuned my guitar to 432 tonight, and I had the aid of a sort of electronic device to bring it right into center spot. So it sounded great to me anyway, the guitar, whatever about the delivery of the song in general. It's a bit late in the evening. What is it, 5:37? This neck of the woods, this side of the water. But yeah, what is time? I made a note of what time is everything. Bob Dylan talked about in 2001, nonetheless, out of time, out of mind. So we got to go back to questioning these very basic, most basic of concepts, or well, someone described as reality. But you know, it's when you question reality, you realize that it's all based on your realization of concepts. And that's where the power of words comes to things. There's nothing, even though there's everything mystical and magical about everything, there's nothing mystical and magical about words and spellcraft. It's about understanding words, understanding greater principles that gives you the power. This is how it works. And it's not a game where people want to hold on to the power themselves. They want you to realize your own power, and only you can do that, right? It's just a simple fact, a simple reality, you know. And when you come to realize that, then you I guess in one sense you have to come to realize that you have to leave the illusion behind. And how hard is that, right? How hard is that? Coming into Christmas time, I can talk about that. I've talked about all of these things. I haven't been on in a hangout in a while, so I'm happy to be on and to be able to speak freely. That was the crack of a can. Say Ovella to all. I really mean that. We are all in the same boat together, and we are sailing towards the same destination. So yeah, happy travels, right? If you hear that That's my time ticking away. Who decided that's my time ticking away? Yeah, this is where we come back to fundamentals. This is where L comes into matters. L is to be found in everything. Light, L-I-G-T-H or H-T backwards. You're being told the story. If you can follow the clues, you can work it out, and you realize that it's not something that is, I think in a bigger sense, it's not something that's against you. It's not this opposing NWO against you. It is actually, when you reverse things around, one, NWO is one, right? WON. So, or now, all there is the now. All these things are chosen specifically, and they're waiting for you to come along and decode them and understand them. When you understand them, then you can leave the illusion behind, because this is not what, this is nothing to do with all that there is, you know. What are you going to say is valuable? We're coming up to Christmas time. Do you think it's a coincidence that if you strip Santa naked and God just after creating your brain naked, that there isn't an amazing similarity? One's a bit more plump than the other, but they're still two sides of the same coin. There's your clue, right? There's your clue. None of it's real. None of it's real. If you take it literally, then, well, you're on the wrong path. Santa, Satan. Well, what's Satan? Satan is the adversary, right? So the adversary, the tempter. What are we most tempted by? Well, materialism. Materialism versus reality, truth. That's what it is. You know, we are much greater than, we're not our bodies. This is the first distinction we have to make, is we have to understand. Yeah. Well, I only said it tonight that, you know, if you don't know where you've been, you can't understand where you are. If you don't know where you are, you can't understand where you're going to. So you have to understand where you've been, first of all, or who are you to have been in that place. And it's only by asking the simple questions that you come to realization. Words are inadequate in a greater sense, because we're so much more than words. And we all know this intuitively. We all know this. We all live our own lives within our own shell. I'm going to play another song. I must make a note of that. Brilliant. It's just the way everything connects, and you're being told the truth on every level. It's another song by Radiohead. I've been singing it for years. Beautiful song. When you get to Flat Earth, you realize that everyone, they all fucking know about Flat Earth. You know, when I get back to Mama, You've Been on My Mind, wait till you hear the opening lyric. This is written 50 years ago. 50 years ago, Fool on the Hill was written as well. So, you know, just go through the lyrics yourself of Fool on the Hill, understanding that it's written from a flat earth point of view. And there's no mistaking, you know, that this is an open secret. And when you wrap your mind around the extent of it, I think the only conclusion you can come to is everything is playing down to a certain point. Everything is honing in on a certain point in time where this mass sort of awareness sort of kicks in, you know, and what that time is, that's always been the unknown, right? It's always been the ineffable factor. You know, who knows the hour, who knows the day? Well, I think I can say, will I say safely? Well, yeah, I think I might. I will say safely. I know the year, 2018. It was always 2018. Everything has been building up to a certain point, and the more you understand, well, the more you satisfy yourself Well, how can you satisfy yourself to some of the answers? Well, you can't. Well, you can't. You can't be certain of anything, right? But you can follow a line of clues that are laid out for you. And once you understand that there's a different sort of, you don't like using the word game, words are inadequate again, but there's a different play to be considered, I suppose. Yeah, there's so many different things to be considered, but there is a greater game in play. And once we follow the clues, and once you grasp the basic idea, and that's where flat Earth comes in. That's the basic reality that we can adhere to. I mean, if we can't adhere to flat Earth, then we can't adhere to anything, right? Because the very bones of us tells us we're not moving. The very bones of us tell us that water is level everywhere. So therefore, etc. Once you can settle on that point, at least you have some firm, solid foundation. Then you can move on to both asking and, answering the greater questions. What I maintain is all the answers are there for us. It's just a matter of seeking them out. And it's a sort of progressive process. Once we understand that this life, this brief life that we consider everything, is just a tiny, tiny part of everything, then we can look at everything differently. Let me get back to Mama, You've Been on My Mind, Bob Dylan, and anything out there that occurs to anybody, let it be known in chat. I'm not too bothered about chat wrenches. I was going to talk about wrenches as well. That sort of assuming I have authority, I can delegate, authority. But when I ask myself on what basis, I sort of fall flat. I come up lacking because I don't know anybody. The best I can ever hope for is to know myself to a tiny degree, right? So I don't know anybody, and I certainly have no right to delegate authority. We can go by the surface clues, if you will. This is how we've fallen into so many traps. We went by the surface clues, or even if we got beyond the surface clues, we failed to realize that the people who were laying the clues expected us to make it beyond the certain clues. They made it clear for us. Pull it. Yeah, I decided to pull it. Oh, excuse me. Or what was the other one? Donald Rumsfeld and his rocket, or not a rocket, a missile. His missiles slip up, nonsense. None of this is accidental, nothing that's accidental makes it through the cutting room floor. This is how much in control others are over the greater narrative, but no one is in control over you. This is the ultimate point. This is the truth, and everything that happens in your life and your existence is ultimately down to you. There is a greater narrative, and we are all part and parcel of it. But within that narrative, you have ultimate control, absolutely ultimate control, and in potential anyway, the real level of control we have is, in one sense, it's in potential. It's mind bending. It's mind. We can't grasp it. This is just an amazing experience in one sense, and we've become accustomed to. Enforced reality. So once you shake yourself free from those shackles, you understand, or you come to understand, that there's not an adversary out there. There is what do you call it? A sort of a. It's like chess pieces in a game, in a pre-set-up game of chess. Every piece knows its place, and it can't stray beyond those limits. But the ultimate purpose and the ultimate hope and the ultimate goal is that you, the individual, make it up that pathway. This is where Alice in Wonderland comes into it. If you remember Alice Through the Looking Glass, she started off as the queen's pawn, and she made her way up the chessboard. This is the allegory to your journey through the rabbit hole. And you can grasp it, or you can let it go. I've said this so many times about coming on to Flat Earth and Mark Sargent, Sergeant Prepper, Sergeant Pepper. This is what it's pointing you towards, you know. I made another realization, well, just realization upon realization. I pet goat. Anybody who out there who understands the whole, first of all, the 9/11 connection to I Pet Goat and George Bush holding the book upside down. That wasn't incidental. George Bush isn't a fucking dodo. You know, this is a clue to you. You know, when you go to I Pet Goat 2, that character that makes Obama sweat is Alice on the ground. So anyone who's seen that, and if you haven't seen that, well, I guess in one sense, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be listening to what I'm saying, because you're just going to, well, you'll be jumping in at a sort of mid book, you know, chapter 10 or something, when you haven't read chapter 3. But yeah, that's Alice on the ground with the lotus leaf, and she makes Obama sweat. We are Alice. And I was thinking earlier on, isn't it funny, the very next male character, the very next character you meet beyond Obama is Osama bin Laden. Anyone out there who, again, who's familiar with I Pet Goat 2 will appreciate what I'm talking about here. And in between the two, right, I just was thinking of it now, and I was thinking about maybe the next hangout. I don't think there'll be too many more hangouts, but next hangout, I'm going to go through I Pet Goat 2 for educational purposes and decode the shit out of it, because now I can see the connections sort of everywhere. So if you think about Obama, Alice, it's Alice in the white and the blue, a big bunny rabbit at the back of her. The very next caption, they leave the schoolroom sort of environment and zoom away and around, and you see in the background 2 big towers falling. So that's your 9/11 connection between Obama, and then the very next character to fix on is Osama bin Laden. So again, they're feeding us the truth. So Osama bin Laden and Obama are one. That's not a big leap to make. You know, there's so much evidence for it, but it's only part of the story. I think it's very important. I think it is actually vital. There's a few things that are vital, but it's vital for us to understand that the only enemy is within. If you come to realize your own truth, your own potential, and you enforce that, then your reality will change, and you will be facilitated in that changing of reality. You know, on all fronts, there's sort of doom and gloom and oppression, you know, war and rumors of war at every hand's turn. But yeah, we have to remember we live in an opposites world. Everything is flipped 180 degrees. So if you take that truth that's been presented to the masses, flip it over, you'll probably be closer to the truth in reality. It's just waiting for you to come to that point of reckoning, maybe, you know. I realize that there's no telling anybody anything. And the reason I do these hangouts, it's not for anything else, but I have the ability to speak, to try and verbalize my thoughts, and as I do that, thoughts occur to me. You know, without that verbalization, they wouldn't have, and that's the greatest benefit, I think, to me. I can't relate to anyone else in a grander sense. Ultimately, it's all our own story. We're all living our own story. You know, we're all cleaving out or sort of continually turning the page of our own book. Ultimately, I think it ends well for everyone. Maybe it takes death for that realization to come, but I think it is possible within life or within the separated avatar. I think that's what our bodies are. Yeah, this is the whole purpose, maybe ultimately, of the game, is to come to that realization. And indeed, you know, no anything involved in all of this. Like, this is just understanding we're all in the same boat. But the dodo has helped me to make great strides towards that greater realization. The story is laid out for us, you know. So within that story, you cleave out your own story, making your way towards the greater story. And it's to be found everywhere. The truth is written in plain sight. It's only when you have the key, when you have the eyes, do you see that. And I've talked before about the necessity of being aware of the arena that we're in here, being aware of your own reality in one sense, you know, but most especially when we're sort of communicating on a mass level via the internet here and via such around such an important topic as flat Earth. Excuse me, we have to, excuse me, yeah, we have to sort of evaluate, we have to become aware of the motivations, the power of the resistance. So what are you going to call it? The resistance to truth, you know, the resistance to all that is good, in one sense. That's what. Because if we decide incorrectly on that basic question, then we're off into la la land. You know, nothing that we develop, any thought that we develop from accepting a basic premise will be corrupted, will be skewed. This is how we're in this situation in the first place. The ball Earth is long dead. They started off, the ball Earth, its basic premise is that the Earth is moving. But there's no proof for that. There's no evidence for that. Indeed, it has been proven not to move. But if you accept that the Earth is moving, everything based upon that initial premise then is obviously entwined, you know. So if the premise is proven to be not true, then everything based on that has to go as well. And when someone gets you to consider maybe advanced stuff based on that premise, then you're just delving into cartoon land. You're just fabricating an image in your brain and you're seeing how that might work out, but it has no basis in reality. So, you know, this is the whole point about understanding that the Earth is flat, understanding that the Earth is stationary. And I think for a greater degree, or to a greater degree, all the antagonists, ball earthers and flat earthers alike, are all pointing you in the same direction. They're pointing you in your own direction. You sharpen your tools, you understand your reality around you according to your best ability to evaluate that reality. And then, you know, once you understood the without, then you can move on to the within. This is where the dodo comes in. The dodo is without. The dodo leads on to behemoth. That's within. Chapter 40 of Job, book of Job. God says to Job, I created, hang on, let me bring it up. See, I could bring this up, right, and talk about this for ages. That is going okay, man. So anyone out there, yeah, be nice, be decent, right? So it's late in the evening, so there's no need for any antagonism, I should think. Here we go, Book of Job, Behemoth. Now, here we go. And this is the King James, I think. No, it's the New International. Change it all. Let me get the King James, because I think that was the initial one. That was the initial Bible. English was the initial language as well. Everything else is fabricated. No, hang on. Let me type in. Everything else is KGB, I guess. Okay, there's a few different versions, made to confuse, of course. But yeah, Behemoth. Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. Made with thee. It's within you. Within you. So he eateth grass as an ox. Don't be eating any animals. Don't be. This is a book. This is a book of instructions. I've talked about chapter 40, from verse 15 to 24. Isn't that amazing? 24 is 42 in reverse, but 24 is also 8, 8, 8. 8 is the theta. 8 is the twisted 0. So you have a 0. You twist the 0, you get an 8. Right. So the 0 to the infinity. You know, the alpha to the omega. You look up the lowercase alpha, the uppercase omega, and put them together, you have an 8, or an infinity sign. So this is what it is. Behemoth is within. I made with thee. I reckon, and I'm sticking by it, this is the most important, in the top 3 most important chapters, any book ever written, ever. In the top 5, I placed chapter 3 of Alice in Wonderland, where we were introduced to the dodo and the Caucasus race, because of course we are the Caucasian race, right? And while also in the top, I'm going to place it in the top 3 as well, chapters of any book ever written, The Wasp and the Wig, the discarded chapter of Alice Through the Looking Glass. So yeah, this is here as well, Job 40, 15 to 24. Behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee. Yeah. He eateth grass as an ox. Well, no, see, I don't want to dwell on this now, because I could go on for 8. I could really. So let me read the next line anyway. Lo now, his strength is in his loins. Man's strength is in his loins. You know. This is where the miracle of creation rests. And his force is in his navel of the belly. Right? So, I want to, in a man's semen, that's where the man's power is. You have the power to create life out of that, but you don't need to rid yourself of your semen to create life. This is the point. If you can use it in a different fashion, then like, and I'm saying like God would become, but this ability is within us all, you know. I don't want to dwell on that anyway, but that's where the dodo leads, you know. Paul McCartney's family motto was Ecce, E-C-C-E, Cor, C-O-R, Meum, M-E-U-M. It's all part of the narrative, so it's not literal reality, like your own history or your own past is a literal reality. The clue is in the terms offered us, you know. So it translates Ecce, Cor, Meum translates to behold my heart. If Paul McCartney is, or Paul is the dodo represents the face of the flat earth post inundation. So the heart of the dodo is the north center. When Paul McCartney says behold my heart, that's where all power, right, and all truth goes back to the north center, which we're isolated from. Behold my heart is a perfect anagram for royal behemoth, except the royal or O is replaced with or D. And it makes perfect sense as well when you think of the theta. As I said, it ends in chapter or verse 24. 24 is 888. The theta is the 8. The theta is the th. So the d is the half of the theta. So in this limited, restricted existence we find ourselves in, that's the most we can hope for. You know, if we were to come into our full and true power, I guess we just explode. You can't carry a body, you know, it's beyond the body. So yeah, none of these things are coincidence, you know, none of these things are incidentally connected. You know, it's all by purpose, and it's all by, well, dare I say, a divine purpose. You know, this is how the story is laid out. And if we follow the clues, it's laid out for each and every one of us. These are not difficult things to follow. You just have to start at the start and, you know, walk along the stepping stones. I won't read any further there in the book of Job. I'll just suggest to everyone, do it, you know. Look through it, see what it means to you. Remember, behemoth is within. He's telling you, behold now behemoth, which I made with thee. Just to tell you how important the Beatles connection is. Not only is Paul the Dodo, but their last albums, Let It Be. I actually sang that song tonight. Let It Be, and you have the chorus, Let It Be He. Let it be He, and then very, very shortly previously, you have Mother Mary. So be He, and afterwards as well. So you have Let It Be He, Mother Mary, be He Moth, right? It's there before you. You might recognize it, but you would have no context to place it within, so it wouldn't mean too much with you. You look down at your keyboard, and the H is in the center. On both diagonals, you have the TH, UMB. Backwards, remember George Bush had the iPad code upside down? I was telling you, remember George Bush's grandmother, or mother, yeah, Barbara Bush, BB backwards is an 8, right? Remember Barbara Bush and that conspiracy narrative. She was the daughter of Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley, Alice Star Crowley. Lee is a land or a field, you know. Alice in Wonderland. Star is the solution to the Queen's puzzle to Alice, a riddle to Alice at the end of Alice Through the Looking Glass. Crow plays a prominent part as well. The crow or the crown. This is your crown. This is your crown. You got to get everything going up to the top here and seeing through a central line that sort of transcends the tangible in one sense. So yeah, I'll leave Job behind and go through briefly. Well, not briefly, because like there's a tendency. I'll probably, what time is it? 6, maybe an hour or two more. I'll just go through the lyrics here. Mama, you've been on my mind. Bob Dylan. I was thinking earlier on as well. David Bowie. Bob Dylan. 42, 24. All encoded, right? It's all about the 8. It's all about the theta. Just to say about the H in the center of your keyboard and the thumb, THUMB, backwards, that's BMUHT. Behemoth. Very close to behemoth. Not quite, very close. So that's your clue. Right in front of your face, all of your internet life, or all of your computer life, right? So this is how it's transmitted to us. Now, if there was a dire, dastardly enemy, they wouldn't put these clues in place like this. I don't think they would. Right? I mean, that's what makes me think. Makes me know that there's a different game going on. And nothing is going to be transmitted in the way, no truth is going to be transmitted in the way that you expect that it's going to be transmitted, even down to me here speaking about this, you know. I'd be written off as a lunatic or a drunken Irishman, right? But yeah, I know that there's a pathway here, and everything is sort of revolving around the same story. The same story has been told again and again and again. Once we come to terms with that story, then it goes back on us then, doesn't it? What are we going to do about that? I've often said that about the legal name. Even if you do nothing or you do everything about it, it still remains true. It is not you and it is not yours, you know. Mama, you've been on my mind. Maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat and covering the crossroads I'm standing at. Interesting words there, right? Or maybe it's the weather or something like that. But Mama, you've been on my mind. I don't mean trouble. Please don't put me down or get upset. I'm not pleading or saying I can forget. I do not walk the floor bowed down and bent, but yet, Mama, you've been on my mind. Even though my mind is hazy and my thoughts, they might be narrow, where you've been, don't bother me, nor bring me down with sorrow. It don't even matter to me where you're, sorry, it don't, I use some different lyrics. It don't even matter to me where you're waking up tomorrow, but Mama, you're just on my mind. I don't, yeah, the lyrics I knew was, I don't even mind who you'll be waking up with tomorrow. Anyway, when you wake up in the morning, baby, look inside your mirror. You know I won't be next to you. You know I won't be near. I'd just be curious to know if you can see yourself as clear as someone who has had you on his mind. Maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat. What does that mean? Maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat and covering the crossroads I'm standing at. Okay. Just the thought came to me. Or maybe it's the weather or something like that. But Mama, you're just on my mind. Mama, you are just on my mind. Am is Mama backwards, right? Am. But let's talk about this. Maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat. How can you cut the sun flat? I mean, this is lyrics from 50 years ago. Again, Bob Dylan, BD, 2442. What does it mean? you can be sure all these lyrics are chosen particularly and with direct intent, you know. None here is accidental or just fitting a gap. Yeah, so what does it mean? Sun cut flat? Well, the sun is a reflection. That's my explanation for that. And covering the crossroads I'm standing at. Well, who died on the cross? Jesus died on the cross, didn't he? Right, and how often have you heard the equation between Jesus and the sun? Well, Jesus is the sun. And you've been told here, it's not that difficult, right? It's not that difficult. What do you do? What do you do when your lifelong sort of hero dies? Well, you deal with it, right? You deal with it because ultimately it is a greater reality. I was going to say within, but it's within and without. You know, it's one and the same. I mean, what loss is it to you to lose track of a character that was said to live 2,000 years ago? For goodness sake, think back to your own life. Think back to the time you were 5. Right, that's only fucking 50 years ago at the maximum, whoever might be listening here. What the hell do we know about 2,000 years ago? What do we know about 100 years ago? What do we know about 50 years ago before we were around? So yeah, the same story's been told again and again. Jesus is the Son, but Jesus is also the perfect man within you. Jesus was born, the Christ consciousness was born in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is very, very, very close to Behemoth, except for the insertion of L, E-L. Yeah. So who is L? What is L? What does L, E-L represent? You find it everywhere. Religion, you know, religion. Light is another one, L-ite. Anywhere you see an L. And indeed, we're told what the L means in us through the looking glass. When we're paying attention, you know, and, well, if everyone pays attention at their own rate, I think that rate has been accelerated. But yeah, at the end of the day, all there is the individual, all there is the you, and the only question is, how far are you along your path to greater truth. All there is, right? That's all there is, man. I mean, who am I talking to here? I'm talking to on a computer screen. You know, it's ridiculous. It's in a way, it's insane, actually. And that's not the first time I used that word tonight. Everything is insane. But there you go. So maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat and covering the crossroads I'm standing at. Well, that says it all for me. Don't need to know anymore. The sun is a reflection and it has no depth. It has no substance. Yeah, crossroads. Jesus died at the crossroads. The sun died. We're coming very close to where the sun dies at the crossroads. December 25th, you know, the sun goes down, 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 and then stops, stays, and then comes back. The sun is the giver of all life. Without the sun, we would not be here. Simple as that. That's why it is sun worship. Oh, it's satanic or this sort of thing, you know. Well, who are you going to worship? You know, who are you going to express your if you had to, you know, if you thought about it, if you had to, who are you going to express gratitude towards, or what are you going to express gratitude towards for your very continued existence? Well, it's the sun, right? It's the sun, but it's not. The sun is just not a ball of fire. That's sort of a dead thing, a corporation, if you will, a dead thing. No, it's not just a material substance that has no attachment. No, it's something completely different than that. And well, we are the sun as well, right? We are the sun. We can't reach into. This is where the royal with the D instead of the O comes into it, the half theta. We can't understand the greater truth in this limited state. We can go, we can make our way along the path that's pre-laid for us, but we can't fully grasp it. And well, as I say, that's just the way it's written. But there you go. Yeah, maybe it's the color of the sun cut flat and covering the crossroads I'm standing at. That's what I have a lot of stuff to say since the last time, actually. Resurrection, rise, erection. Thanks to Bro Sanchez for that. I've been talking about harnessing the power of this fluid within. It's everything is contained within the being. Everything is contained within your shell. Everything. And it's just a matter of you coming to realize that nothing works in the way that you've been told it works. You are not at all what you've been told you are. So once you cross that hurdle, once you cross that sort of a barrier, yeah, then you can make progress. And this is what I see. All of these people, all of these antagonists, every one of them is towards getting you to realize, and that's a great love in a sense, is getting you to realize your own truth, your own power, your own reality. So, you know, with greater foresight, with greater knowledge, we can thank everyone we ever come across for helping us towards that ultimate goal, you know, but especially the people who were put in place. You know, it's hard to know, it's hard to get a grasp on this sort of general, what describes the general view on, you know, how far flat Earth has come, or what sort of strides have been made towards a greater truth, or greater sort of unveiling or unraveling, or an expression of the truth. You know, that's a question for each individual, but it is a pertinent question. How far have we come in the last, well, Mark Sargent's clues, Eric Dubay, they're out about, what is it now, 3 years, coming up in 3 years soon, I think, isn't it? Yeah, it's coming up in 3 years, which is a pertinent. 3 is the magic number, or tree is the magic lumber. Yeah, everything is timed, everything is aimed towards a countdown. And if you're paying attention, you will pick up on the clues, and you will understand that it is the individual's journey. So you can pick up on it or you can let go of it. Nothing in a real sense exists outside yourself. Any characters you might meet on the internet, especially when they don't have a face or a name attached to it, are just that. They're characters, and you can't relate to anything in any real sense. So the idea being that you realize this, and ultimately everything comes back to the I am. All there is you. We are lost. We are hoodwinked, or we have been hoodwinked anyway. So now we're in the process of taking the hoods off. And it's like blind man's buff. You how brilliant, excellent. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I come on and do these things, you know, because realizations like that, blind man's buff. You volunteer to put the hood over you, or the blindfold over you, and you go searching for your fellow man, right? Right. I think this is an allegory or a sort of metaphor for what we're really doing here. We volunteer to be blind to the truth, and we go seeking out our true humanity or our true manhood or womanhood, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I've often spoken about before. Everyone talks about the powers that be and the corruption that's inherent within it. You know, when you break it down and think about it, we do this to ourselves. We do this to our children without questioning. We don't question the real status quo. We don't question the real interrelationships between us and the world around us. So we just go along with the flow for the most part. And then we complain that the flow is not to our choosing, you know, or our liking. Again, ultimately, we have that power to change everything ultimately at the drop of a hat, right? So many people on flat Earth still cling on to rooted history, you know, as if we can let the present go, but something must be true from the past that's presented to us, right? You know, this is what I'm going to cling on to, but no, that's folly. It's a silly way of thinking, because if one massive thing, if they can fake the universe, for instance, everything comes under scrutiny, and that includes especially history and the story we've been fed. So yeah, all comes back to the individual and the question the individual will ask themselves questions. Okay, shit, I have a habit of sort of talking and not saying very much in one sentence, not getting beyond the opening few songs. And let me just go through Forever Young. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. I have a problem with the starting line. May God bless and keep you always. Now, who is God, right? And bless. Why is best? Bless, be less. Right? Is that a curse then? So what sounds like a blessing is actually a curse. It's only when you come to this realization that the power leaves the words, right? This is where we talk about the distinction between the theta, the th, and God or Lord God or Satan or the devil or anything like that. When any of these latter words were said, a picture formulated in your brain, but you had no picture for the theta, right? Except possibly just 0 with the line across, the 1 and the 0, the X, if you will. X is 10. But other than that, you didn't get any visualization on a being or an entity. No. And this is where the truth lies. And the truth is ineffable from our point of view, or the highest power is ineffable from our point of view, but clues are given to us. And if you look at the keyboard again, where you have the thumb, the H in the center, If you go up the left to right diagonal, you have BHU8. And it's telling you, you are the highest, you are the 8, you are the Alpha and the Omega. So understand it, and yeah, then you can work your way towards it. If you don't entertain the possibility, well, then you don't do it, right? You don't do it. That's your business. So yeah, I have problems with the initial line here. May God bless and keep you always. Well, who's God? Who do we want to keep us? I mean, yeah, let's be careful who we put our trust in, right? Especially the images and the ideas, the notions that are presented to us at a very early age. We got to wipe the slate clean completely, absolutely. And don't let any word impose a sort of a picture in your own imagination. Don't let any word, unless you let it in. That's I think that's the ultimate truth in one sense. And it's the power in words. That's the spellcraft in words, you know, because the words of others set up a picture sort of progression within your own brain. That's what words do. That's a dog, cat, goose, honey badger, snake. I could keep going, and every word I say sets up a picture in your own brain, no matter how fleeting. So yeah, these are all based on habit and experience. This is what we have to overcome, especially when it comes to the more metaphysical, spiritual sort of terms, I guess, or ideas. So yeah, God, who is God? Who is Lord God? Why does Lord God appear to be a different character than God in the Bible? Because it was written that way, right? Genesis 1, Genesis 2, different stories. Different stories. Adam, Ma-da. Adam, Ma-da. Mother, father, everything. Without your mother, father, you wouldn't be here. Ma-da. Eve, E-V-E, very interesting about the E. Well, I wrote it down. Okay, well, if you EVE, if you overlap one E with the reverse E, you get an H, right? And the V in the center, that's the international recognized symbol for the feminine. The up arrow is the masculine, down arrow is the feminine. That's just because of the bias, right? And it's in a greater sense. Within the female, there is male components. Within the male, there is female components. This is about masculinity and femininity. This is why it's nothing to do with gender. This is qualities within the whole. You know, we have become divided. You know, who knows what it means to be masculine? Who knows what it means to be feminine anymore? It's all just ideas based on notions, you know, or induced conceptions, if you will. Yeah, so we got to let every word go, and that's why, you know, in one sense, that's why give it another. That's why that's too long to go into, but basically my last song is just one word, dodo. So there's no misconstruing anything. There's no implanting directly via spellcraft and images in anyone's brain except a greater image. The dodo is the story of us all, but it just goes. So after that introduction, it goes do 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 do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Simple as that. Simple as that. In my own brain, I can build up a picture, I can build up my own story based on the dodo. And dodo has so many different connotations. From the dodo, the first association millions of children make between a soothing feeling and a word. The dodo is a soother, you know. Bread is made from dough, money, all these basic concepts, they're ingrained within us, and they're all pointing you towards the same story, the dodo. Because you see, the significance of the dodo is the flat earth. That changes paradigms completely. When you come to flat earth, with serious and due consideration, no one is going to shift you from that basic truth. We live on a flat or stationary plane and a level plane for the most part. No one can shift. What's beyond certain confines, you know, don't know. But that core truth rests with us. That's a core reality. Yeah. So that's where the dodo comes in. The dodo is the face of the flat earth. Once you get to flat earth, the dodo awaits. Gleason's map, everything is flipped. Remember George Bush, iPad Gold, he had it upside down, telling you that you got to flip things around to try and get towards the greater truth. When you flip the Gleason's map around, the dodo pops out at you. That's your starting point. So all of these lyrics, beware. That's what you need to do. Stars comes into this again, of course. Stars is the solution. Oyster is the solution to the Queen's puzzle in Alice in Wonderland. So oyster, I star, EYE star or I star. Antonio Subrat's his surname backwards is Star I. Be us. What are the chances? What are the chances? What are the chances that his girlfriend, a transgender, would be Patricia Miss Steer? It's her email, magical mystery tour. What are the chances that it all connects to Alice in Wonderland? Mark Sargent, Prepper's Guide, Mark Sargent Prepper, Mark Sargent Pepper. Sergeant Pepper's lead you to Alice in Wonderland. Every song in the album, the most famous album of the most famous band in history, point you towards Alice in Wonderland. So what are the chances that it's not a greater game being played out here? I would say nil. I would say nil. And yeah, Forever Young, going back 50 years, here we have the stars. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong. And may you stay forever young, forever young, forever young. May you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy, always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. And may you stay forever young. He hears the ticking of the clocks. You can hear the clock ticking away there, right? There's no such thing as young or old. It's all illusion. First define what time is, right? And when you go down those lines, well, yeah. Then you get towards the simple. That's the truth of it all. No matter how complex or complicated it has all been made seem, simplicity is the root of everything. This is why I started to say that earlier on. These dastardly powers that be, they don't force you to do anything. You do it yourself. Your parents did it to you. You do it to your children. Simple as that. You don't question enough. You don't question what you've been told. You don't question the authority of others. You don't question your position within everything. You don't question if these strangers really have your best or your children's best interests at heart. So you volunteer everything, right? But yeah, this is the point of awakening. Now we understand our errors, right? Now we can stand up and, as Bob says, stand upright and be strong. You are the power. Simple as that. What are we going to do with it? What are we going to do with it? That's the question. Bit of a doobie here. Doob. A doob. Don't you fucking think for a second that a doob, well, I already connected, and it was used to listen to me, the dodo 1598, I said 2018 is the year, that's 420 years. I was reconnected the dodo with the doob, cannabis, 420. Thanks to Tesla Truth, the term 420 in terms of Wikipedia was said to originate from I think a school in California in 1981, and the story goes it was San Rafael. The dodo, who never existed, was in the Raphus categorization. So that's a direct connection to 420. But also, if you look in Wikipedia, their meeting ground was described as being Lewis 420, Louis 420, and Lewis Carroll 420. So that, you know, it all ties in from so many different angles, you know. Well, just that's an old stamp for me smoking a joint, and I'm going, what the fuck am I talking about? I know what I'm talking about, but yeah, the dodo and 420, dodo, doob. So it's all about mirroring and reversing. So you have the dodo, D-O. When you reverse the second half, you get D-O-O-B, doob. There's your connection to 420, the dodo, and, well, what that might mean to you. That's your own question, right? I know what it means to me anyway, and I know that none of this stuff is instant. That's all I can say. That's it, yeah. May your heart always be joyful. Heart, earth. Behold my heart, Paul McCartney's family motto, right? Behold my earth. The third song I was going to go into, well, I keep talking about this, but it's probably the most important song I've definitely ever written, or not written. I put the music to it, but the lyrics were already pre-laid out, pre-given, preset, which is my heart and lute. My heart is anagram of earth, you move the H to the back, my earth, and lute. When you go from the back to the front, you have Ital. Ital is star in French. Ital, right? Michel Mabel points us to the interchangeability of languages in limited sense, you know, in a sort of more obvious sense. But Michel Mabel, these words go together well. Michel Mabel, these words, you have behemoth again. Look into that yourself. There's behemoth staring you in the face. And if you look at the lyrics of the song, they're telling you the same thing. Yeah. All back to the same central core, the dodo. So when you get to the dodo, when you get the flat earth, you get to the dodo, the Gleason's map is given to you, Glee's son, then you move on in the puzzle. That's all I can say, right? Look at that. That's a whopper, isn't it? It's a question I put out earlier on. Well, you know what to say about man. What was it? You know what to say about a man and his big lighters. ... I go into chat soon. Any suggestions, right? You know what they say about a man and his big lighter. My heart's and lute, yeah. So my earth and star sums it all up, because, you know, all there is the earth and the sun. Everything else is reflected artifacts. That's what I've come to settle on. And when my mind is going to be changed by the likes of Curved Water, Jeremy, Jim Panda, you know, anyone in that vein who just keep bringing you back to basics, you know. No, my mind isn't going to be changed by that. So my best position, my bestest stance at the minute is that, you know, there is the Earth and the Sun. Everything else, in terms of the luminaries, are reflected artifacts off a contoured barrier. I can sort of understand in those terms the ice perimeter. The sun keeps the ice at bay, which is second nature to all of us. We understand that it's freezing over outside, but not because the sun is further away, right? Yeah. So that's all there is. So that's telling you, encoded as it is, but it's plain and simple. It's telling you all there is the sun. That's the way I read it. And my heart and lute ties back into Alice in Wonderland, to chapter 7, I think, just before she went on to become queen, just before she progressed to the 8th. Again, the 8 chessboard is 8 times 8. There you have the 8 hidden hand. Heil Hitler. Hitler was born in 420, had one ball. One ball just represents the intact barrier. We lived within a bubble, within waters beyond. The bubble collapsed, so you have a spider-like bubble. You know, it was a collapsed bubble. So there's North Center is isolated from the outer barrier, if you will, and we're in the outer barrier. Conditions, there's nothing natural. Everything that you might describe as being natural is unnatural. I think the good news is that a script is playing out, and you can sort of get there sooner. You can get to understand the script sooner or later. That's completely and entirely up to you. That's the whole purpose of you entering this avatar that you call your body, I guess. You know, fundamental in all of this is your ability to separate the body from the greater being, the mind, the soul, the nous, and look up NUS and what it represents, the ability to discern truth, you know, the truth about you, your existence, the world around you. This is nous, which is sun backwards. It's all about the phonics, right? Sun backwards. And within the sun, truth is contained. You are the sun in a real sense. You know, you are the sun in terms of you are that greater power. And yeah, well, that's one of the first things we're sort of scared off from doing, isn't it? Looking at the sun. Whereas, yeah, everything is reversed. So that's the most sort of, oh, well. That's the most beneficial thing you could do, right? Is look at the sun. When you combine looking at the sun gazing, and behemoth, or, you know, setting up a vibration within, well, then you find not only the color purple, you also find the black sun. So yeah, it's all about frequency, vibration. But the dodo, as I say, leads on to behemoth, leads on to finding the purple, color purple, which is the blending of red and blue, to two opposing aspects, not opposing, to separate aspects. Because remember, the Trinity is man, woman, and child in one, everything you know in one. We have become divided. As children, we are whole, but we're taught to split. We're taught lies all our lives. There's one thing about my own son, my beautiful Steve. I could never carry a lie. I never liked carrying any sort of lie with him. Never, ever, ever. Children deserve more than this, you know. But then there's the pressures of society. There's the pressures of your peers, your partner, your whatever. And you compromise. But at the very core, you object, you resist it, you know. And I see why now. 1 and 1 doesn't equal 3, right? In terms of man, a woman, and a child. No, a half plus a half equals 1. The woman is half, the man is a half, the child is 1. That's why we have to go back to the earliest of times and look at, well, as I talked about Blind Man's Bluff, look at the games as children, look at the stories, look at the nursery rhymes, Mother Goose. all this sort of stuff. This is where the truth is told us. The parents, the adults corrupt the children. It's not the greater they. They tell you the truth. We just don't recognize it. So when we go back there, then we'll see the real. We have the ability anyway, or the possibility to decode the real truth. If you're interested in that, well, I should think we all are, right? That's what's taken us to this point. I was going to say in time, this point in time, right? But what is time? You can hear the ticking of the clock in the background. Get used to this, right? Someone is counting out your existence for you. When you ask someone what a second is, you won't get a satisfactory answer. It's all based on a 93 million mile away sun or a vibration of a cesium atom to the exponential every second that your time is dictated. That, fuck that. Throw that shit out. Yeah. And time, further time, that's associated with Saturn, with L. All these things are connected. And I think the first fundamental thing we have to understand and realize, whether it's part of the greater simulation of video game or what, we're still living in a broken system. This is not natural. Nature isn't what do you think nature is. My Steve was an immaculate conception in the sense that it didn't take an ejaculation to bring him into existence. And I think this is the bigger secret as well that's ingrained within our reality, understanding these things. Again, that's all we know is our bodies and our beings within our bodies. But how many of us know our bodies? How many of you know that, for instance, your head, your heart, your hand all contain the H and A? What does HA mean to you? Probably nothing, right? But there it is before you. You know the H is the theta, right? Because you have a H. You have a H. However I do that. You have a H. Move these over here. You have a H. And then you just move it around. There's your theta. You move the bottom and the top. If I take away the bottom and I just keep that separate, there you have your A, right? So your A is missing something. That means Allah is not right. It's like God. It's part of the construct, But when you have the H, there you go. Everything is in place. Perfect. Everything is the theta. That's what it is. Every symbol and sign represents something greater, and it can be no greater than the highest power, the theta. That's all we can know about it. Are you theta? Well, BHUH. Your keyboard tells you. Jesus said, as I am, so are you. So it's clear that this potential lies within you. Because if it doesn't lie within you, you see, it makes no sense to you. It doesn't exist. Because all there is you. All there is you. How can you see outside yourself? You can't put yourself in the shoes of anyone else. You can't put yourself in the shoes. I was going to say the fish that you had for dinner tonight, but I mean, do fish wear shoes? Well, I don't know. I definitely heard that fishes in China cycle bicycles, so I don't know if they wear shoes while they're cycling bicycles. So that's the idea. All there is the you. You can't extend yourself beyond that. Can't know anything outside of you, and that's where the I am comes in, right? I am. That's the most you can say. I am. I've taken the sword from a stone. The sword is the S word, the is. When I give existence to something via my utterances, in one sense, if that's not true, then my power has been drained. My power of creation has been drained. It's like when I ejaculate to have my son, when I don't need to ejaculate. And that fluid could be, in a proper sense, in a real sense, be used in a different sense. And still achieve the same results. This is how we've been blinded to the truth. But this is maybe ultimately the challenge that we willingly entered in terms of coming towards these greater realizations. So yeah, again, I've always said it. These hangouts or these whatever you want to call these talks are me waffling away. They're not aimed at everybody. They're not aimed at everybody. In any one particular area, I could dwell on, like the Book of Job, for instance. I could dwell for about 2 or 3 hours on that and spoken about that. Just nothing prepared. I never prepare anything. I don't go near Google. I haven't gone near Google tonight. I haven't even gone near. I have to do that now. I haven't even gone near the live events and brought up the main page, right? So, you know, nothing scheduled or nothing. Nothing pre-scripted, you know, except I have to say this, I guess. Hi. Welcome to Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. My name is Patricia, Magical Mystery Tour. Come and take a ride with me. Okay, that didn't come across. I usually practice that a bit more. But that, if I was going to do the impression of Patricia, I've been getting on to Jamie Brown. Yes, Jamie Brown has great impression. So he has definitely to do an impression of Patricia with his big hairy chest and his beard. Hey, welcome to Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. My name is Patricia. That's where my name is Patricia. Magical Mystery Tour. Come and take a ride with me. Well, that's just a sort of a hint towards all the scandal that Antonio Superants and his ramshackle Antonio. I think that could be a great sort of comic little weekly script, you know. Antonio Superants and his ramshackled vagina. I think it's very funny in terms of the imagery. The people who are playing these parts, all there is love, right? That's all we can do and hope for the best. We have to laugh as well. That's where ha comes in. With every ejaculation, you have the ah, but it's all about reversing it. So it's about the ha, God's laughter, right? This is a literal thing. There is a literal objective reality, and we can function within that reality if we have the right information and the right principles to an amazing degree. And well, this is what I like to think that, you know, what I'm talking about here, it's true, right? Or else it's either true or it's the biggest wind up in history. That's all I can say about that, because it spans so many years and so many different sort of prominent influences. So that's all I can say about that. It makes absolute sense to me as well. We're in a broken system. We're under magnetic gravity isn't a pulling force, it's a pushing force from above. That's why we have cloud layer. That's why we have different conditions all the way downward within the magnetic field. And it was never meant for us. It's an all-imposing magnetic field. Maybe it's part of the gameplay, or maybe it's part of a fixed reality. That's to be determined. But the point being that then you have the ability to generate your own magnetic field. This is where music comes in. I made an absolutely fantastic realization tonight, and it was staring me in the face all the time. All the time. It's fundamentally true. That's all I can say. And everything, every word you hear, every term you use is significant, and it's all about telling you to pay attention. And if you pay attention, then you can follow the clues, and then you can come to self-realization. It's all about frequency and vibration. You have the ability to alter your frequency and resist the oppressive, imposing frequencies. When you do that, then there's the ability for growth. Right, this is the whole point of everything. You know, even with the currently accepted model, there were creatures of a giant sort of structure or stature, not going back not too far, you know, a few thousand years. So circumstances must have been different for animals to grow to such an enormous sort of level, where yet circumstances were different, because there was no opposing oppressive force pushing you down. That's why trees were bigger, animals were bigger, everything was just bigger, you know. But yeah, we have the ability to generate our own magnetic field, our own frequency vibration, and oppose this. And when we oppose that, well, who knows? The sky's the limit, right? I think we are a culmination of the best in terms of genetic material. My body, I'm happy enough that my body is a mix of DNA of chimpanzees. I'm happy enough with this, honestly. It's not cool. So, see, if you rule out, here's the thing, I was thinking about this. If you rule out evolution, right? Well, where are you going to go? Why did God then create us? So to be so close to chimpanzees, or to be so close to pigs in some form or fashion, or to be so close to, well, I was going to say dogs there, but there's another animal that comes into mind. A snake as well is potential. But you know what I mean. The point is, why are we so close to these creatures? And when we say we as well, who are we? I think I'm happy enough to accept that my body's an avatar here. I'm not my body, and the bodies are fashioned all around the same sort of template. Now that begs greater questions: who is God? Who is the creator? Well, as I say, as Nietzsche said as well, couldn't stand it if you weren't the creator. Your mind couldn't bear it, right? When you think about it enough, not at a deeper level, at a shallower, at a very, 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 very the shallowest level, which is the childlike level. When you can learn to ask these basic questions, then at least you can hope to answer them. But we haven't become childlike enough, not childish, childlike enough to be able to recognize which questions we should be asking. I'm happy enough. I think the fundamental part, this is why K or 9/11 is so important. You must realize the distinction between the body, the spiritual, the body, the material, and the spiritual, the greater being. Once you can realize that upright distinction, right, then you can bridge the gap. This is where behemoth comes in then. Be, he, me. First of all, it's complex and it's complex, but it's simple, but it has a few, this is why it's so perfect as well, because it has all of these different sort of connecting points. And it all points, like the dodo, everything points back. The dodo is a hub, right? So once you get to the dodo, flat earth associated, right? Once you get to the dodo, and again, this is going to, I'm sick of even saying this now, that's why, you know, anyone that comes along and says, that fucking Egypt, look at that drunken Irishman talking about a dodo, flat earth, what the fuck, crazy stuff. Go and get your Gleason's fucking map, rotate it, go and get the UN logo. You know the UN logo, UN, when you combine, when you combine UN, yeah, I'm not going to draw it up. Think about it. When you combine UN, it's like the arrow up and the arrow down. It's the masculine and the feminine aspect coming into a unified whole, right? The masculine and feminine isn't like a woman with a fanny and a man with a pair of balls. No. This is aspects within us all. If you think about the feminine form and the masculine form, one is the puzzle piece, one is the gap that the piece fits into. One is no good without the other, but both are contained within you. We were all children, right? We were all children. The most valuable thing, if you want to say in these limited terms, the most valuable thing in this existence is a child, a beautiful child, right? A beautiful child. So, you know, that's, I think, one thing we'll all agree on, atheists, theists alike. That's the greatest miracle known to man. So the constant question I should ask myself as well more often: when do we stop becoming children? When do we stop becoming miracles? Right? Well, when others told us, isn't it? Others told us this is the way it was. This is the length of a second. This is what a star is. Yeah. You see, you've been a dodo. You've been a dodo. We've been a dodo. We've been dodos, and that's the beauty of the dodo. Everything is reversed. Everything is flipped. Someone hears the dodo, ha ha. Your man is talking about the dodo. The very name itself makes me laugh. This is the beauty of it. It's not for everyone, right? It's not for everyone. A beautiful song. Beautiful song coming up, and how significant is it? I think sometimes that's why I can talk for like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, is because sometimes you just get into a moment and time doesn't matter. You know, you can hear the ticking of the clock in the background, but after a while, it just fades, until you don't hear it. I think we can all relate to that. I'm going to play, oh man, what a beautiful song. I've often said about Radiohead, how pivotal a part they play. Radiohead, ham radio, H-am, radio, head. It's all about frequency and vibration, getting to your top of your head, the pineal gland inside there. It's your third eye. It's literally pineal. It's a pine needle. I talk about crystalline trees. That's what the sun is. The tree, that's what we do at Christmas time, right? We celebrate, actually how twisted it is. We cut down a live tree, we put it on an X, on a stand, and we light it up artificially. We transmit energies. Well, this is what it's reflective of. Energies transmitted from the base up through it. So imagine in real terms, crystalline tree, energy has been transmitted up through the base, and that distribution. Now imagine that tree being cut off. Now you have a lightsaber. Now you have your Star Wars. Do you get it? Star. There you have your star again. Wars. What's wars an anagram of? The story that's been told to you again and again and again. Yeah, the lightsaber. Luke Skywalker. That tree, which would otherwise have been supported around the earth with other similar giant trees, but lesser trees, they were all decapitated, they were all collapsed, they were all destroyed. But the energies are still transmitting, but that's where you get your lightsaber. This is why we put the tree on the X again at the center and we artificially light it up. It's representative of a previous time. You have the train track going around the outside as well. People haven't a clue, do they? Everything goes back to you. There's two stories. There's the internal story and there's the external story. Simple as that. Simple as that. You have to know yourself, right? That's all there is you, yourself. But then there's a sort of a set truth to the timeline. And even though these things are seemingly separate, you're part and parcel of it, so they're connected in that sense. That's where the dodo connects everything. Still be recognized. I know it will, because it's not me telling this story. It's not me coming up with it out of my active imagination or something. No, it's following the leads that were there already. So again, it's either the biggest ruse in history, or else there's a different game going on. And I know where I fall. There's a different game going on, and you are the power. You are the power. This is only a small part of existence, this life, this separate experience we're having. But I think ultimately we entered into this experience with the purpose of realizing our true power within the limited or the separate state. We realize everything is frequency and vibration. As I said, this is possibly the greatest realization ever, on top of all the realizations associated with this. And it doesn't matter if it means anything to anyone else. It doesn't. It doesn't. All that matters at this moment to me is, well, all the children matter. They really do. And my son, of course, Stephen. Outside of that, I don't even matter to myself, But we deserve better. We all deserve better, and ultimately we can make better. This lines up with the song. And up with the song I'm going to sing now, and oh goodness, I sang this on a beach in. I sang this on a beach in Spain, which was back in about 2005, so maybe about 12 years ago. So, it's been in my consciousness, but I had no idea what it might have meant. Now that I've come to Flat Earth, now that I realize the truth about the dodo, and now that I realize it's coming from the most famous, again, another most famous band in present terms, Radiohead. Now I see the significance in it all. And I'll sing it now, and I hope you enjoy it. This is, honestly, this is not random. This is not vague. This is a song for you, right? This is a song for you. So realize you've been told the truth. This is what, listen out for where the dodo comes in. Remember, truth is fiction. Fiction is truth. Everything is reversed. When you think of the flat Earth, you have the turtle, right? The elephants, the flat disc. When I say the flat disc, the face on the flat disc is the dodo. Go to your Gleason's map, reverse it or rotate it around so Australia's at the bottom. There a dodo pops out at you. That's your clue. So listen to this song from Radiohead. I don't know the album now, and I don't know the exact time, but I think it definitely stands back in 2005 on a beach in Spain. My friend, what did I say, my best friend, one of them, yeah, got married in Spain. And yeah, it was about 12 o'clock. There was maybe a dozen of us down at the beach on the wedding night. And I had my guitar and I sang this, and it means so much more now. So listen to the words, right? Listen to the words. Oh, that sounds nice, doesn't it? That sounds nice to my ears. I had a great idea for a plectrum as well. I have a lot of great ideas, but it's not about money. So what do you do? What do you do? In one sense, I know everything is known. Everything is known. The real level of truth and technology out there is beyond our fucking belief. You know, I told a story about when I was out about 2 weeks ago. I saw this craft flying across the sky, and next minute it pulled around, and in the distance faced me with 3 red lights. It was a vague outline of a triangle. Don't know what's going on. We have no idea what the true reality is. But I think, though, if we make progress, then we will be introduced into this true reality. Here's a song from 10 years ago, more, 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago, which now, listening to it, it tells you everything. So pay attention. And even if I'm not, I don't even know if I'm coming true or not. If I'm not coming true, that's fine. I can't. I wrote down a few things tonight, which, you know, I've learned, or, you know, by speaking out loud, I made a connection. So anyway, here we go. E minor. And I just said to Mick as well, it was great talking the other evening, Mick. Keep up the guitar. And as I said, go back to your childhood. Think of the first song you learned when you went to school or whatever your parents might have taught you, but you knew it in completion. Then go into Google, type in the song name and guitar chords. Go into Ultimate Guitar, for instance, and they will give you all the chords. You can just hover your mouse over the chord, and they will tell you what it is. Take your time. Give yourself, you know, a month. Give yourself a month, and I guarantee you, by the end of that month, with a little bit here and there, you will not look back ever. Now you can start creating your own music and putting your own thoughts to your own sound. And how sweet will that be, right? So here we go. Listen to this song. I will lay me down in a bunker underground. I won't let this happen to my children. Leave the real world coming out of your shell. But why elephants that's sitting I will rise little baby's eyes, eyes, little baby's eyes, little baby's tells you right there. You have the duck. Look at your Gleason's map. Turn it around. You see a duck. White elephants. You have the elephant. I will come out of my shell. They all know about it. Why don't you know about it? Well, we know about it now, right? Clues are everywhere. Now you have to change your way of thinking. What is the real game here? What is the real twist? What is the real turn in the tail, you know? Anyway, it says, congrats, you have now have access to the YouTube Studio Beta. I will put a shout out. Let me put a call out in one sense. The time is coming short, I think. Let me put a call out to anyone with sort of graphic skills. Fanny Lancer, I'm going to say, Fanny, how you doing, man? Maybe you can not help me. I'm not looking for help myself, but I don't have any such skills. But I think someone with the appropriate skills, we could knock together a flat Earth map and model in a day. I know all the pieces I know where all the pieces can be found, and I know it's accurate as well. I know it is. And I know it can be proven accurate as well once it's put together. It will stand up to scrutiny. So let me put the call out to anyone who has appropriate skills. As I say, I think time is short. I feel it myself, the time is short. I know 2018 is coming next year. And you know what? I'm 46 in 2018. 4 times 6 is 24, which is 888. My beautiful, beautiful boy is 16. In 2018, 16 is 88. So yeah. Let me, as I say, I have no idea if any of this is coming through or not, because I haven't done the chat. I'll stay on for another 40 minutes, something like that. Flutter up music. It'll be stormy out here, I think. You hear the rain outside anyway. Let me put on this and just remind you, look at it again. Let me just go back here. Look at this. Oh, this is excellent. This is, look at this, man. This is crazy. I said how important 9/11 was. Look at the time on the clip here. Flat Earth Music Express is 11:19, but when I press it, it changes to 11:18. Isn't that funny? Because I've talked about loads of times about how it's all about going from 7-11. Think about 7 and 11, how they relate to one another, to 8-11. And here we go. That compilation just changed from 11:19 to 11:18 significance. Let's significant itself. Let me play that, and I'll go for a cigarette.
Never seen a sky flat as this one, as flat as the brown earth beneath our feet. It's the land rises, you got to shape of the land. You're the land, it's the land rises, there's the sun in the sky. Chicken fun, the world is supposed to fly. The long nights goes the underground. Day I'm wasting my time, 'cause you're never coming home. If you used to think the world was black, how long was that now? This night, a fall time, it can be still to stand. Where's the patience? I'll be strong. Like 4 days on the mat, let's see for myself the fact that the world ain't flat. Break out the welcome mat. Out where the land is as flat as the sea, there's a train rolling out west. 'Cause I'm not acting, don't know the angles. I stop the track. Earth is flat, unless you're an astronaut. Tune is vibration. If I was right, you were a ball. If I was charged, then you would. The world's too fast for us now, and you want else to explore. Bumpus said the world was round, back when everybody said it was flat. Just between me and you and the man in the moon. Maybe it ain't anything like that. Would you believe that the earth was flat all around? You thought you ever I stand in a wet, flat land, no shadow or shade of a doubt. With a megaphone. When everyone thought the world was flat, Columbus said it's round. He went down in history, and America was found. Check it. Columbus swore the earth was flat. I got the map to navigate on track. Repercussions filled by black force allegations. On the unknown new frontier, here at the edge of the flat earth ending, I'm getting off to get lost in the air at the end of the world where the light is fading. I'm like that when I was young and the world was flat, but I'm at the earth is flat. But it buttoned up when we didn't follow. In lives round the sun. There's so many things I want to tell you, but we have to be careful. I think I'm being watched. Galileo was imprisoned by the church for exposing that the earth was not in the center of the universe. So in 1616, they already had control of what they thought you and I would have to know. They knew the world wasn't flat, but that was knowledge we weren't supposed to have. They knew all about the new world. Can't believe that the world is still flat.
Well, well. When you look at what I came back on, I'm just smoking a cigarette, but I did come back on this and it just changed. I came back on this again. Is that coincidence or what? Come on. There's the dodo on its side. That's your clue. That's your clue. Of course, the Gleason's map isn't correct. You know, gosh. I think ultimately, you end up completely retracting into yourself because only you know where you're coming from. But something like this, is a communal story as well as a general story for all of us. There's no distinction between any of us. I realize tonight we all try to sort of impose our reality on everyone else. And when the truth and the reality of matters is that we have no fucking idea what our own reality is. Um, this is what we need to sort of take a step back and realize. When we do realize this, then we will behave in a different manner. We are of peace. We are of harmony. So bearing that in mind and bearing that and holding that as something that's important to cling to, we will not disturb the harmony. Um, Ultimately, this is what I think it's all about. Without disharmony, there is no harmony. There's no contrast. Without the sun in the background as it's setting, you don't recognize the real horizon line. You identify the apparent horizon line as the truth, and you are mistaken. So we have to bear all these things in mind. I'm going to sing another song now before we go to chat, and 7:23, depending on where you're listening from. It's potentially not too late. And if you're listening again after the fact, again in the archives, well, it's the same sort of stuff been talked about again and again, but it's all sort of confirming or combining towards strengthening, I suppose, the premise. The story without is intricately entwined with the dodo, and the story within also. This is another Radiohead song. Yeah, there you go. Look, it's 6:44, 11:18. As I say, they outside. I showed it to you 11:19. That's a deliberate change. It's all about going from 9/11, which is really 7 September 7/11, to 8/11. This is what it's all about. The 11 represents the two divided aspects, I guess. If you want to put it like the masculine and feminine, the water and the fire within us all, the mind and the body. Recognizing the distinctions, and then this is where the H comes in, making a cross between them. Or the H is the 8. I told you about the 8 already. That's how you think about the H. You can craft a theta. The theta is the 8, the 0, and the infinity. This is what it's all about. The story lies within. And it's a beautiful story. Fuck's sake, I'm raging at myself as well, and I don't sort of fully appreciate it because I know it's true. I know it's true. But I think that's the final sort of leap as well, that once you take it to its extent, you end up believing everything. And are you capable of leaving everything? It depends on what you are leaving with. You have love in your heart. You're not leaving anything, right? Let me sing this song anyway. This is another Radiohead song. Song number 10 from Kid A. Kid A. You have the DA again there, DA. The D is the top of your head. The A is your body pointing you towards the top of your head. Simple as that. It's very simple. You have the abilities within you as a male. Don't succumb to temptation. Channel your energies. It's all physiological, metaphysical. You understand your relationship with a higher power, and be your frequency and vibration, and transfer those fluids that you've held on to for the male, from below, from the crown jewels to the crown, and then your what you call it kicks into gear, I guess. Your truth. This is song number 10 from Kid A, which is the soundtrack to the 9/11 movie we were presented with. 9/11 is rich in symbolism. You take, like the Bible, in a literal sense, you lose the true meaning. This song is called Motion Picture Soundtrack. How perfect is that, right? That's telling you. Just telling you. And just like the other song I sang, I don't know what the name of that is actually. I Will. I think it might be I Will. I will lay me down in a bunker. I love these songs before I understood the significance behind them. Everything's about flat Earth, and that's the story without. Then there's the story within. But you have to get the flat Earth to be capable of decoding the story within. But I love the song before I knew the significance of it. So, motion picture soundtrack, beautiful. Wine and sleep clothes help me get where I belong. Cheap sex and sad fun help me get back to your arms. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, maybe. Stop sending letters. Letters always get burned. It's not like the movies that had us on little white lies. I think you're crazy, baby. I think you're crazy, beautiful angels torn apart and burned. Endless and lifeless, I hardly recognize you. I think you're crazy, maybe. I think you're crazy, I will see you relax. funny about that. Funny about that song. In the album today, they left the last verse out. Beautiful angels torn apart at birth, limbless and lifeless, I hardly recognized you. It says everything. It really does. That's what you. That's what you have to come to realize. And well, a little adage I made up years ago: if you sell yourself short, the only one out of pocket is yourself. Um, that he left that verse was left out. Again, beautiful angels torn apart at birth, limbless and lifeless. I hardly recognized you. But that was left out of the main album. It's very ultimately very significant in itself. Look into where Radiohead were on 9/11. You know, I could make a big deal. I reckon I could. Of course, I could. About the discoveries I've made. Put out videos, and it would garner so much attention because I know that this is the story laid out before us. But yet, this is the ultimate point. That is the individual story. If you're meant to hear this, if you're meant to follow this, then you're meant to follow this. You know, it's laid out before us. Okay, I better go into chat. Any questions? Any concerns? Any advice regarding me getting mental mental health evaluations? Much appreciated. Okay, straight into chat. Dominic Sabolowski. How you doing, Dominic? I see Freedom Awaits. Zeus God, how you doing? That's just in the page there that came up. Just to say, Dominic, yeah, you forced me in one sense to reveal the number one dodoism. I've been sort of collating dodoisms for the last 6 months, and I've been saying over the Hangouts that there's only one dodoism, and as far as I can see, nothing is going to beat it. And you came up with it the other evening, or whenever, a few weeks ago, which was El Dorado. So then I had to say, well, I better announce this now, just in case Dominic or Fanny Lancer even said that he came up with that as well. But yeah, that was something I came up with myself without any prompting or any idea that anyone else came up with it. Only because I've been reading Voltaire's Candide, where El Dorado features prominently. And when I thought about Dodo is perfect. I don't think you're ever going to beat that dodoism. So when you come up with El Dorado, excellent. I said I better declare the number one dodoism, and I wouldn't be surprised. Of course, El Dorado is the city of gold. You know, they're sort of high in the mountains as well. If we understand mountains are sort of the remains of the giant trees, we can sort of understand the greater significance of all of this. But I would not be surprised, and indeed I would put a bet that El Dorado was so named or so called in honor or in homage to the dodo, because the dodo was so significant. The dodo is the flat earth map. The dodo is the face of the flat earth. Post inundation, this is what the Gleason's map tells you. But you have to go further with it. Again, once you get the flat earth, the dodo awaits. Aeon, my friend, how you doing, man? Sage, AG assimilation. Well, oh, that's very Aeon. It's becoming clearer and clearer now. I can understand I'm getting to understand all the letters and how they relate to a sort of a central I don't know how you put it, essential truth. I think that's what it is. If you look at the G that you posted there, Aeon, and think in terms of the theta. Remember, the highest is the alpha to the omega, the zero to the infinity. You know, when we say God as the highest power, immediately when you use the word, an image formulates within your brain. So you're giving life to something that potentially, anyway, and indeed in reality, has no right to life at all. In other words, that is your idea of what God is. You know, we cannot understand this higher power. So the theta is perfect because nothing can spring to mind. You could spend a lifetime um, categorizing it, clarifying it, classifying it, but you will never know if you're closer to the truth. And that's the beauty about the theta, or the beauty about the eight. Aeon, blood, Aeon, you'll appreciate this, my John. Man, again, like El Dorado, El Dodo, Ra Dodo, and you have the Ra in the center, and Ra is the sun, R-A, R-A. So R is R, right? And A, think about the A in terms of the H. You have a bias towards the top as opposed to a bias towards the bottom. That's where the V is the feminine. There's a bias towards the natural, you know, where the bias towards the top is towards the logical, or towards the, how would you put it? Well, the masculine in one sense, you know, that distinction between the emotional and the logical. But ultimately, we we are the container. Everything is within us. Like, you know, I can be feminine, I can be masculine. There's no distinction. And I dare anyone to come along and say, well, if you behave like this, then you are masculine, or if you behave like this, then you are feminine. No, it's all just about words again, spellcraft. And if you think about stop sending letters, right? Think about this, Aeon. This is the soundtrack to 9/11, most important soundtrack ever written to 9/11, right? The movie we were presented, 102-minute movie, Kid A is that soundtrack. And it finishes on sound number 10, motion picture soundtrack. Radiohead, remember? Radiohead, radio frequency, head, Head. You have the ADH, right? This is all about directing energies towards the apex, the head, and yeah, as above, so below, from head to head. This is where the vital or the potent fluids come into play. And Radiohead are telling us this, but just the lyrics. Stop sending letters, and you'll appreciate this. Stop sending letters. So don't think on the surface level. Think on the next level down or beyond that. Stop sending letters. Stop casting spells. Right. This is what letters are. Letters always get burned. What's the next one? It's not like the movies. They fed us on little white lies. So there you go. Stop sending letters. Letters always get burned. So when you're casting spells and you don't know the power within, well, you're always going to get burned, right? It's not like the movies. They fed us on little white lies. Now, who is they, and what are these white lies? Right, the white lie. If you say a white lie, like Santa Claus, for instance, that's only a white lie. It's to bring a greater joy. And this is what I say. There's a greater game going on, and I look a bit weird there, looking at myself. But I hope the voice in conjunction with the face isn't coming across too intimidating. Ages. Oh, Aeon. Again, I just addressed you, Aeon. Hi, Hi. That's what it's all about. H, hi. And what a basic greeting to your fellow man. Hi. You know, this is why hi is high. Again, all in relation to the H and the I. And I could expand upon that. The TH, imagine a capital H and a capital T placed within the H. Now, everything is mirrored, so we'll mirror the T and put it down at the bottom. Then you have the two T's within the H, and that is the Windows through the soul, Windows logo, right? And ultimately, a T and a T inverted gives you an I, right? So IH, just as your keyword tells you, BHU8. What is the H? That is the greater power. This is the great mystery. This is the great realization that we are the TH. We are this greater power. And indeed, as Nietzsche said, he couldn't bear it. He can't imagine not being this greater power. Where God comes into it, I don't even like using the word God because they make an immediately. When you say God, an image formulates within your brain, and that has been an inserted image, and it's part of the construct. The true power in relation to everything we can declare as reality is beyond our measure. There's no way we can attach any of our senses to formulating any sort of picture. This is the whole point. And again, I think this is the whole point of our existence here, is to come to this realization that we are part of this, the TH, we are the TH, we are the greater power, and we can realize it to a good degree, but also to a limited degree within this separate state, divided state. That's where Royal Behold My Heart, Paul McCartney's album, but also Paul McCartney's family's motto, Behold My Heart, is a perfect anagram of Royal Behemoth, but Royal, the O is replaced by the D, because we are in a limited state, and that's a half. The D is the half theta. We can never step into the shoes of the full theta, because our bodies couldn't contain us. So, well, there you go. Love, Ovel, Aeon. It's all about love. And again, a fundamental part in all of this is our realization, our connection to that different source, if you will, but also our, how would you put it? Yeah, the physical aspect to our being. All there is the now, right? So all there is now. So if I determine to evaluate myself, I have to incorporate the physical with the mental, right? So by realizing the nature of the physical and the nature of the physical environment that the physical is within, then we can understand that it's all about frequency and vibration. By generating our own frequency, we can overcome. So when, yeah, it's shit. When you entertain this possibility, especially as it pertains to flat Earth, then you realize a greater story has been told. And as I pointed out with the Bob Dylan Mama, You're on My Mind, he's telling us there and then Jesus is the Son, So we have to have all of these sort of prerequisites, if you will, different stepping stones that we have walked upon or followed the path of to take us to this point. So once you do recognize this connection to the greater you, the greater yourself, and that sort of symbiotic relationship with the body, you can, by using one, affect the other, by appreciating that connection, and then by generating a frequency within your body via a vibration, behemoth, I'm going to say, be, he, me, perfect. There's no more succinct term or sentence you can come up with to express that connection between you and the higher power, or the greater you, if you will. The undivided you. How about that? The undivided you. So that alone, that's a metaphysical sort of chant. But within the physical, then that sets up a vibration within harmonious. Find your own. I have other things to say on that, Aeon. I've made a few more realizations regarding that. So anyone who's practicing the behemoth, picking out my thoughts on that. But yeah, you're setting up this physical vibration, which loosens up the liquids within you, giving them the capability, or the easier capability, of rising in any direction that they need to rise. But then the be he, me, th at the end, that's his sound. This is where the snake is so the snake is so sort of blacklisted, so demeaned in one sense, because everything is opposite. We have to understand this is not literally about a snake. It's not literally about a crocodile. We have no relation to a crocodile. We can't relate to anything like that. This is all representative of some other aspects within our being. So the snake is about rising up the focus, so rising up the backbone. So it's via this that this vital fluid rises up the spine and floods the brain. When you do that, then it all has to go back then to a heart center, right? Because the heart pumps the blood. So if the blood in the brain is imbued with this potent fluid, again, this fluid is capable of bringing the most beautiful miracle known to man into existence, which is life itself. So yeah, this is where it all comes back to the heart. And the heart can pump this imbued blood around the body, and I think ultimately you get to see things that you can't see normally. You just change your frequency. It's not so mystical. I mean, it's a physiological sort of thing within a metaphysical realization. And is it all about belief? If you believe something, is it true? Yes, it is. It has to be, right? Because it's a subjective truth. All there is you saying that. Thank you, man. One big pond, thumbs up all the way. Excellent, man. Excellent, Aeon, THE. And I was going to talk about the THE or even the HE. Do you know what the Holy Spirit is? I'm glad I'm coming through anyway. Aeon, John, do you know what the Holy Spirit is? Break it up, man. Whole E, spear it, right? So think about an E and a backwards E. Bringing them together, you get a box, right? You get an 8, a digital 8. Now spear it down the center, and then you get the Windows logo. Now, if you look at that logo, you have the H and the I, right? So you have the H, the verticals, and the crossbar, and then you have the I in the form of an upright T and an inverted T. So I, H, yeah. Resurrection, rise, erection. Within, it's not the climax, it's about the anticlimax. It's nothing sexual we've been made to feel sort of guilty about our sexual urges, I guess. But again, it's all part of the construct, so we have to forego all of that. Every man has a sexuality, every woman has a sexuality. It's nothing to do with me, right? Nothing whatsoever to do with me. I have my own sexuality to deal with. But yeah, it's when you don't succumb to temptation. As I said, my own beautiful, beautiful Steve is the product of, an immaculate conception. And yeah, that's my truth. I know that that's the case. So in other words, you don't need to rid yourself of your vital bodily fluids to procreate. So other than that, then you have separate love from lust, right? So this is the point. What are we willing to forego in terms of, temporary satisfaction for possibly a greater purpose? Okay, yeah. And that's why I don't normally look at chat, because you can tend to get distracted. Lottie says, and just to show you, Lottie, I'm not afraid to read out anything. It's dangerous to encourage mentally ill people to engage in their craziness. Not hard to understand. Well, Lottie, as I say, a measure of a man is somebody who will stand behind their convictions. You will put your face to, if you're that stringent or that strongly inclined to criticize others that you don't know anything about, who are willing to put themselves out there and express their points of view, you should be willing to do the same, right? You should be willing to put your face behind that, because you're criticizing and you're labeling one of your fellow men, right? So that's the least one could offer. Would you send me to hell, Lottie? Would you have me burn for eternity because of what I've been saying tonight? I would urge you to point out what's so bad in what I was saying. Do you think there's only a set line of thinking, a set line of reality, and you are in possession of all of it? I asked Tim, and I've caught quite a few people out, because it's another one of those gotchas. There's no escaping it. Would you agree, Lottie, as you've aged, that you realize that even though you might know some more, you realize that there's so much more that you don't know? So as a percentage of knowing versus the stuff that you don't know, you were down in a very low area. I've got Tim, or who else? I tried to get a few other people to just give a figure, put a figure on it. And they said they couldn't. It's such a tiny percentage. But yet you come on here and you say that you claim to know everything, and you claim to be able to be in a position to judge whether somebody you don't know, and who's put his face forward, and who's sort of open about this, expressing his opinions and his thoughts only, not speaking for anyone else. You would have them put in a mental institution and treated accordingly, because their views or their ideas don't accord to your way of thinking. As I said, if you're going to take that sort of approach, surely you're big enough to put your face behind such a judgment, right? But of course you're not, and we'll never see your face, right, Nadia? We never will. Like the vast majority of the rest, we never will. That doesn't matter to me now. I just read that out, because I'm not anyone who thinks I'm afraid to read out any comments. You can say what you like about me. I don't mind, and I haven't gone back so far. This is why I love. Well, actually, excellent. Right, Dominic, you're getting. Aeon has a wrench. Dominic, you're getting a wrench, definitely. Freedom awaits. I'm going to give you a wrench, man, but it doesn't matter. I know wrenches on flat earth for me, because you see, when you start dishing out wrenches, then you're taking it upon yourself to sort of deliberate and say that this person is worthy in some sense, right? Or this person I know to be in possession of a good will, or a good truth, and will guide and act accordingly. You see, this is the difficulty, because we know we don't know anybody, right? And that's why I have no authority over anybody. Someone bowed to me earlier on. I'm going, man, you don't, Aeon, I know you have problems with this, man, but it's all about the words we use and the context in which we use those words. And I think I made myself clear in terms of the context in which I use the words. But as King of Era, right? Now, I know the difficulties, I really do, and I didn't welcome it. But at the same time, we're in a dire situation, right? We're in a dire situation because, as I said to people, there's children dying of cancer, going through horrendous treatments, when a drop of liquid cannabis made to the right grade on their tongue would do away with all their suffering. This is horror. This is something that any rational, sane person can't deal with. So how do we deal with that? when we're dealing with a perceived authority like this, we have to make this distinction in some terms. And these are the distinctions I make. You know, we are man. All of us are man. Every one of us are king, queen. You know, if you want to put terms, we have to put terms on something. But I understand that we are man. And I do stress that I have no authority over anyone. I recognize every one of us as the same as me. But the problem is that most people don't recognize themselves as that. Everyone thinks they're a legal name, or they identify themselves as a legal name, where, yeah, your true identity couldn't be further from the truth of a short verbal vibration, right? So, but yeah, let me just say Dominic as well. Excellent, man. El Dodo Ra Dodo. That's excellent. And Aeon's to be or not to be is a close contender as well. Aeon, it's excellent, isn't it? And how it connects to the dodo. Remember, this is not as Lottie would have you believe, the ravings and the disjointed sort of meanderings of a drunken Irishman. This is a pathway that's laid out before you. It's like doing, in one sense, you know, those mazes where you have the sort of the central ring, and you're placed in the center. You got to find your way out. There's only one way to follow the track and find your way out. This is the way I look upon this greater puzzle that's presented before us. And as I said, man, how do I start even? Like, I mean, when I think about the amount of hours, the amount of intellect, the amount of effort that's gone into trying to decode the Beatles' Paul is Dead saga, and to think that only when you get to flat Earth can you unravel it, that's mind-boggling in a sense. In one sense, to think that I found the missing template, if you will, the missing wood block. Again, this is all part of the narrative from the third most translated book in history, which is Alice in Wonderland. Alice Through Looking Glass is across the earth, right? To think I found that the 92 initial wood block that were used for the illustration, and 91 were found again, but one remained missing. So the template that they had to use was degraded in terms of clarity. Well, I found that one, and funny enough, the one that was missing was the dodo and Alice. So I found that one on my first search, the very first time I came into looking at the dodo, the very first link I clicked, and I started reading Alice in Wonderland from. That was the one that kind of, what are the chances of this? What's going on here? Like, but there you see in that print, as opposed to any other print you can find, you have, yeah, Alice and the dodo, but you have the face of Paul McCartney underneath the dodo's wing. So I found that treasure. That's a treasure that was lost for 150 years, right? But even beyond that, the greater story goes back beyond. It goes back, you know, back to Shakespeare's time, if you will. Once you find the dodo, you get to Behemoth. Again, I pointed out the connections. Even Aeon, for goodness sake, let me bring it up. I have to sing this, right? Okay. Let me sing this, right? This is what I'm saying, man. I mean, you know, it's laid out for us, but without the proper context, you couldn't sort of decode it. But now, when you have the proper context, then you find it everywhere. So wait to hear this, right? I'm going to smoke after this then, and when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. In my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Oh, let it let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Oh, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be. Oh, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. When the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me and shine until tomorrow. Let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. Oh, let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Be. There will be an answer, let it be. Oh, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Aeon, let it be, let it be he, Mother Mary, be he Bob. That's the last album from the Beatles. Paul McCartney went on to formulate the band Wings. Paul, underneath the face of the dodo, underneath the wing of the dodo, Paul is the walrus. The walrus is a walrus moustache pointing up. It's all about the arrows pointing up towards the north wing center where the hidden hand is emerging from, or the hand is emerging from. Let it be he, Mother Mary. Whisper words of wisdom, the wasp in the wig, WW, the three, and 8. It's like the E and the E. Yeah, Holy Spirit, whole E. So you have an E and a backwards E. That gives you a box. That gives you an 8, right? Spirit down the center. Then you have the Windows logo. But think about it. You have the H. Then you have the T at the top. And the T at the bottom. H-I-I-H. You know the Catholic Church? IHS? Simple, man. It's easy in one sense that it's everything goes back to the H, the theta. When I say theta, no picture springs to mind. That's beholding. That's appropriate. That's fitting, because you can't imagine the highest power. You can't put a dress on him and a big white beard. Get the heck. You can't. If you could, then it wouldn't be. You know. This is where the sword from the stone. You take the sword from the stone. You realize the power is within you to create. You only have the ability to create the most beautiful miracle known to man within you, right? And that applies to males and females. You know, I can speak from males' point of view. With the vital bodily fluids rising up, I think females are closer to God. So that, you know, they bypass that procedure in one sense. But yeah, fundamental in it all, I think, is this frequency and vibration that we can set up within ourselves. Let it be he. This was the last album of the Beatles, and to think about it, that all the Paul is dead stuff, all that is all pointing towards the same end, and that's the dodo and the flat earth. So, you know, there's no doubt at this stage for me. And be, me. The TH at the end brings the fluid up your spine. Simple as that. The be, he, me, through closed teeth, sets up that frequency within your body, gets all the fluids sort of more viscous, right? So it loosens them up. Then the TH at the end brings the fluid up. That's the way I think it works. Aeon, we've been talking about food and drink. When Alice gets thrown down the rabbit hole, and that was an amazing, I already wrote down, iPad Go 2. That's Alice who makes Obama sweat. The very next male you encounter is Osama. So we have Obama, Osama connected, and in between that connection, you have the two pillars, 9/11 falling. You know, so you know, we have to distinguish between the story and the storyteller. This is vital. All the clues are put there for us in place. So at the end of the day, we have no one else to blame but ourselves, you know, because ultimately it's realized, it's known that we are infinitely intelligent. This shit is easy for us. So you can choose to take on the path, or, you know, or the challenge, if you will, the treasure hunt, or you can choose to leave it. If you choose to leave it, everything is still going to end up all right, right? But yeah, you'll have sort of, I'm going to say failed. There's no failing, but you'll have failed to follow the pathway that was laid out for you anyway. And probably ultimately the reason why we came in here in the first place is to learn and to realize our true potential. They talk about potential and potent fluids. It's cool, right? So yeah. Yeah, there's no denying it at this stage. The other song I brought up, Michelle Mabel, these words go together well. While Michelle Mabel, these with the TH from the these, behemoth is contained within that. And when you look at the rest of the lyrics of the song, you see that it's all about the same thing. I've already looked at the lyrics. I encourage you to look at it yourself. But yeah, Michelle Mabel, these words go together well. Behemoth is contained within that. L is there in spades as well. So we have to define our sort of copper fasten, or nail down what this L represents. You know, Saturn, Father Time. Time is a construct, right? We live in a broken system. So everything to do with the broken system, we have to sort of separate ourselves from. Again, it's the distinction between the story and the storyteller. So yeah, that's the way I sort of associate Al, and I have so much written down actually. Not for any purpose. When something occurs to me, I just write it down. Well, light, yeah, very basics, the very premise of everything. Light, let there be light. You break light down there, you have L there, L-I-G-T-H, right? And dark, should we go to dark? There you have the A-D, A-D-R-R-K. It's very basic indeed. It's ABC, 1, 2, 3. The Jacksons were telling you Mike L. Jackson. Jack, who's this Jack character? Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack the Ripper, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. We got to work out what message has been sent across here in terms of the words, right? And the words always have an idea behind them. It's like the 8. The H is meaningless unless there's an idea behind it. So the H is built on the idea or on the reality. This is the point of it. got to flip everything. You know, none of these things sort of evolved as part of a natural path. Nonsense, nonsense. Nothing. You have to throw everything out. So therefore, everything's encoded. And I've talked about so many times about the L and the G being interchangeable or equatable. G is the 7th letter, which was an imposer into the alphabet as well, but the L is the 12th letter. And if you think about the 7 and the L, one is inverted and mirrored to produce the other. So this is the interchangeability between them. And you have so many different interchangeabilities as well. Eleanor. I was talking to Nathan Oakley's Eleanor, gorgeous. She's so gorgeous. Like, she, honestly, you know, but all children are. But Eleanor, that's telling you in itself. Eleanor Rigby, but L in or. Think about an or. Think about an L. Well, the other way, I would draw it that way. Whatever. They're interchangeable. They look remarkably alike. You know, that's because it was designed that way. There's no accidents. There's no, as I talked about, the sole of your foot, the soul fish, the soul on your own, and then your own soul. These words were chosen because not, you know, a random nature, or not because of some sort of gradual merging of ideas and words. You know, no. There was intimate and intricate connection between everything and how it sounds and what is defined as being. And we have to bear this in mind. Yeah, that was a brilliant one for me. Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit. When you hold E backwards and forwards, you get an 8, and then you Spirit. Then you have the Windows logo. Within that, you have the H and the I. IH. Your keyboard is telling you BHU8. This is what it's all about. It's all, you have the H. If you think about the H, it's the theta. So you get the H. You get the, hang on, how to do this? Hang on, how to, yeah, here we go. You know, there's the H. There you have the H. All right, hang on, H. And then you just wrap it around. So you have the theta. H is the 8th letter. This is what it's all about. And, well, you are the H, as I say. I'm down to my last few pages of this book. When I started this off, I never thought, that's my last few pages. When I started this off, I said, how the fuck am I, what the fuck do I have this book for? But I bought this book for someone else. And he passed on. Andrew, you know Andrew and Andy, you know all the truth now, right? You know all the truth. But yeah, it's all interconnected in a big sense. And I was just going to say to Aaron as well, when Alice fell through the rabbit hole, she saw the garden through the door, but just through a series of confusions, she ended up eating and drinking and made herself bigger and smaller or something other than what she was, and went through a whole series and sequence of adventures when that's where she wanted to be in the first place, looking through or going into that beautiful garden. Eventually, the story ends, she never makes it a beautiful garden, but that's where the wasp in the wig comes in. It's such a beautiful mechanism to tell the truth. It really is, like, and I don't know how many people are grasping this, and I don't know how to think about it anymore, really. I don't know to what extent I should go to put everything I've learned into practice. But yeah, the point being that it's via food and drink or unnatural sort of practices that lead us astray. And I've thought about frequencies and vibrations. If your whole stomach and your passageway, your small and large intestines, and let me just say as well, every part of your body is aptly named. Everything is encoded from your head. Your head has the H or the ADH. Look at the description on my every video, well, for the last good while anyway, which is Behemoth 420 ADH, suis dodo. Everything is significant. Your head is HEAD, right? There's the ADH in it. Your heart is not part of your head, so it shouldn't have the D. Well, we have the HEART, right? your hand it's saying not that your hand is part of your head, but it's aptly named. It's given that sequence of letters and sounds deliberately and for greater purpose. Yeah, that's the whole thing about heliocentrism and that sort of traditional view of the answers to life, the universe, and everything. Everything is deterministic. Everything is laid out for you. If only we had enough data collection points, we could determine the infinite future. That's fine, like, you know, but it's all a pipe dream. It's all a theoretical nonsense, you know, and again, all based on an initial faulty premise. And listen, you have to reduce everything down to complete and utter simplicity. Are you moving or are you not? If you're not moving, then the ball doesn't enter the equation because you know how water behaves on a small, on a big, on a massive level. Simple as that. That's it. Once you accept that, then everything based on the idea that the earth is moving has to be thrown out. And that's what I've done long since. When I entertain people on, people go, or Jamie, you know, Jamie Brown, or Mick was saying to me the other evening, you're not supporting Nathan by going on his channel, you know, making him money. No, there's a greater story going on here. Greater story going on here. And if you were to sort of boycott everybody you thought was an actor or someone put in place to play a role, you wouldn't go anywhere. Very few places anyway. I go to Jamie's. Although Jamie, you're fucking talented, man. If you're listening, you're talented in terms of your ad-libbing voice impersonations. So I mean, anything is possible. That's what I keep saying again. Everything goes back to the I am. I don't know anything about anyone else. One thing I want to say, Aeon, man, you look fantastic there. Wherever you were last week, the appearances were that you were in sort of like a boat, or you were just below deck or something. But you look great, man. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. And I definitely see a heart to gold. Even though you know, to sort of copper fasten a relationship in any sense, you need to speak to somebody face to face and get a feel for somebody, you know. But yeah, there's always questions about anybody, and I hope you heard me on Jamie apologize. Let me do it on my own channel. Actually, let me do that officially. Let me go on and look at my own face, you dirty little slime. Let me look at my own face. Okay, I don't mean that. Chris Effie, right? I'll do it again, Chris. Chris, I am dreadfully sorry. I really am. And I'll try not to sort of be sneaky or backhanded about this apology. I am dreadfully sorry. I really am. I heard you talking with Paper Explanator the other evening. I think it was on Rebel Rebels Hangout. And from all my reckoning, that was a sort of a natural conversation. It was a flowing conversation, and you couldn't have been two different people. Now, I do bear in mind the possibility that there's an elaborate technological sort of scheme going on. But you have to remember that I have very little to go by, and I have said this before as well. If I was wrong, and if I come to realize I was wrong, I will be the first to put my hands up and apologize. Let me just put down this a second, Chris. I put my hands up and apologize unreservedly, and I'm very, very sorry, Chris, for any offense or any disturbance I might have caused to your spirit about being wrongly accused of being somebody else. And that is genuine and that is heartfelt, because we all know what it's like to be wronged when you know that this is not true. So that's, I hope you accept my apologies, Chris, and I mean it from the heart. I don't like to wrong anybody. In my defense, the only thing I will say is, not in my defense, this is not about my defense, but what I will say is that we are very limited I've come to recognize the nature of the arena we're in. So you're prone to sort of making connections, not where there's no connections. You admitted yourself that there was there was a lot of similarities between you and Paper's voice, but we are prone to sort of cast the net wider than what it should be cast, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I do apologize from my heart, and yes, I accept that you and Paper are you know, I mean, I'm limited because I can't know anything, Chris, but in that sense, I accept that your conversation was organic, and I was mistaken. Now, again, in support of where I was coming from, Delcroix also had to listen to the comparison, and he gave a very high percentage of similarity, you know. So I mean, it wasn't coming from nowhere, and it wasn't out of any vindictive nature or vindictive spirit that I made that claim. But I accept that I have wronged you, Chris, and yeah, please forgive me, my friend. Please forgive me. I can't fault you otherwise, right? I can't fault, and you can fault anybody. I can't fault you. Well, I could fault you about a few things that I think, you know, we need to be passionate about all manner of topics and not just stick to certain things, because this is our lives, this is our existence, you know, and everything sort of plays its part in terms of molding our point of view and molding our well, I sang the song, didn't I? If I can't let this happen to my children, meet the real world coming out of its shell. Isn't that brilliant? Meet the real world. I won't. Let me do that again. I love that song, man. I won't let this happen to my children. Meet the real world coming out of the shell. Listen to the words. On the wide elephants, it's sitting down. Rise up, oh, baby's eyes, little baby's eyes. So I won't let this happen to my children. Meet the real world coming out of its shell, right? Turtle shell, but white elephants, right? Turtles, the elephants on the back, 4 elephants on the back of the turtles. The turtle represents, let me tell you what the turtle represents. Don't take it literally. The turtle represents age, right? Age-old turtle, and waters, salty waters. This is what we are in the midst of. An age-old system within the salty, the elephants represent the dry land, the strongest thing. On land is the elephant, but on land is the point. Then the duck or the dodo represents the face, you know, that represents the disc of the ant with the face on it. This is how truth is being transmitted to us, right? This is the mind who's in charge, the mind Lottie who'll have you going through textbooks and Einstein. Look at Einstein said this, but Lottie never tells you that Einstein was fucking a butch man every night when he went into bed. You know, a big butch man. So, I mean, if someone's taste is that awful, why should we listen to something that they have produced that only 2 or 3 people at the time in the world could understand? It's nonsense. So we can easily see through the likes of Lottie. And again, Lottie will never put her face forward or his face forward. I don't even know what it is. It could be a hamster, for all I know. Talented hamster. But yeah, there you go. That's totally white. I won't let this happen to my children. Meet the real world coming out of its shell. But white elephants, sitting ducks, look at the Gleason's map, turn it towards Australia's at the bottom, they'll see something similar to a duck, a blackbird, or more specifically a dodo, ultimately a dodo. Dodo never existed. That's your first clue. Uh, yeah, there you go. That's a Radiohead song. And yeah, all these antagonists, use them to your advantage in the sense that they're here to get you to sharpen your ideas, to come to realize your own place in everything here. They have no bearing otherwise in your life. If you get emotionally involved with anyone who says anything in text or chat, well, then you haven't dealt sufficiently with problems you have already with yourself. And this is the whole point here. This is the whole point. All there is the I am, but that I am has a love for other I ams that she recognizes. You know, once you can do that, then and stop enforcing your reality on others, then there can be a chance of harmony. There is a objective truth for all of us, but it's not to be found in the places you think. Simple as that, because the game is different. The game is very, very different indeed. So yeah. That's a Radiohead song again. It has to be 12, 13, 14 years ago now. And they're telling you about the flat earth. So what's going on? If you didn't know about the flat earth, you wouldn't be able to realize what's been said there. But once you do, then you can accept that and move on. If you're not at that point, well, then just piss off out of it. You know, piss off, Lottie. What are you doing here back again and again in the same forums? In the same sort of argumentative frame of mind. So let me share my screen. Probably stay on for about another 10-15 minutes. Call it a day then outside. This is Flat Earth Music Express. I just talked about that earlier on. Loaded with clues, and you're being told the truth from left, right, and center.
Did you think at the end? Looks like a structure shape is there. What stretches further than you heard? Did you know the warrior of the black earth has become the tyrant of the globe? Round the south that tribe again, pride is all the world my friend. chance in the third degree. Trying to deal with people you can't see. We're all in the same boat, ready to throw off the end of the world. That old world would be as flat as the world before Columbus.
The earth is not a flat screen. I ain't trying to fit in.
Tell me the world is flat.
Your man named Frank. Guess what happened to old Frank? Think the world is flat? What do you think about that? Nicer.
The world is flat.
Look at that. Where's the mirrored water layer there? Yeah, we gotta engage our brains. Let me just I'll probably stay on for another, what is it, 8:33. That's amazing. 8:33. Get the heck, 3 and 3 put together, it gives you an 8, right? This is what the 33 is all about. It's an acknowledgement of the divided state we are in relation to the theta, the alpha, the omega, the 0, the infinity. When I say 0 to infinity, what picture comes up in your brain? Is it a woman with a black cloak and a beaming face? No, I mean, you know what I mean. It's not. You can't. Nothing comes up to your brain, and that indeed exemplifies the highest. That's all you can say. Which is you, my friends. Ultimately, that's my belief. So let me just, not my belief. I don't even like using any words at this stage. I think I won't be speaking for too much longer. But let me sing a song. And how appropriate is this? Another realization. The band. Why did they call themselves the band? They have the D, right? B-A-N-D. Think about the N in relation to the H. It's not a balanced crossbeam. It's biased towards either aspect. So again, everything is in relation to the H. So let me type in great song. Here we go. I know the lyrics, but this is just as a reminder. This will be my second last song, but geez, I could sing so much. I never released my own flat earth song as well. So this is the start of it. I'll just give you a little bit of the start of it. This is my own flat earth song, not this one. let me go to the end of it. How's it go? Okay. Heart is flat and still. Our beautiful earth is flat and central. Let me just give you a bit of a verse as well. Welcome to a whole new world of wonder, where love and life torn asunder. You gotta dream to find a love to bind. Listen on the mind. So I don't have the exact lyrics sort of worked out. Not worked out. I have lots of lyrics written down, but just put in that organized fashion. But I have the whole song in my brain, so I could probably finish as usual. I could probably finish that in a couple of hours. Just sit down and do it. Maybe that's the whole point as well. You know, let it be. Let it be. Let me sing this. Stormy weather outside. I have no time for time anymore. Anyway, all the old ways are drifting, and all the illusions are being shattered. You know, Donald Trump came along, talking about bringing the moon to prominence again. This is all part of the unveiling. So everything's good. Play your part. If you know the song, sing along. If you don't, get to know it, because Akkadian driftwood is telling you driftwood. What's driftwood? Well, that's the detritus of a once living thing. This is what's happened to our earth. The giant crystalline trees were decapitated or cut down or destroyed, and every form of matter is associated with this initial form, original form, from oil to stone to wood, you name it, to us, to the stuff that we're made of. That's why we retain a crystalline part in terms of the pine needle, pine tree. We put up a pine tree, we cut down a pine tree to put up a pine tree and artificially light it up. This is what the sun is. It's an aspect of a decapitated tree. The energies were being transmitted, but the distribution system has been cut off. This is where we have the lightsaber, we have the sun. When we look at the moon, we're looking at a reflection of the face of this projection. When we look at the stars, we're looking at a displayed projection of this initial projection against a contoured barrier. What's paramount, and I've always said that this is paramount, to understand the contour of the barrier. I'm telling you now, the contour of the barrier, it begins low at the north, it rises higher at the equator, and down lower at the peripheries as well. What's beyond is saline waters. When we had an inundation, the collapse of the barrier, the waters encroached, and then we have the seas. This is where the perceived powers that be garner their power, which is maritime law. The law is the invader, the Holy Sea, right? This is what it's all about. The sea has encroached upon the land, but the sea is the invader. We are man on the land. This is our inheritance. They must get us to consent to being a legal vessel on the seas of commerce in terms of the legal name, the way they can deal with us. But once you understand that distinction, you stand in your own 2 feet, in your own presence, in your own being, then they have no power, and they know it, and they must bow, they must acquiesce. That's just the way it's written. That's the whole point of this game, if you will. You coming into your own power. So this is by the band. Brilliant name. Never understood why it was the band. Now I understand why it's the band. There, I already talked about that, as in the THE, or the, if you think about the T, and the inverted T gives you the IH, right? IH is no great simpler sentence telling you that you are the power. And yeah, everything is in relation to that band. You can see how that might fit into that. But BAN, I haven't enough time to talk about the A, N, and D. It's all about your body. The M is your from your legs up to your groin, makes an M. The A is up from your waist up to your head, pointing all upwards. The heart is the center. The heart is most important. And then the I, you know, the dotted I, that's when you become illuminated. It's all about ringing that bell through frequency, vibration, allowing yourself to resonate with yourself, right? So the band here, but Acadian Driftwood. Acadia is the North Center. It's the North Center. It's paradise. Paradise, pair of dice. One dice. Thanks to Marty Leeds for this. I'll try always to give credit where it's due. I really will. Pair of dice, paradise, pair of dice, one dice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gives you 21 when you add up all those numbers. And pair of dice, 2, 21s is 42. 42 is not the answer to life, the universe, and everything. 420 is. And that's when the relaunch happens. Earth's Mark II, right? The next level. In the meantime, that's going to happen anyway. In the meantime, this is what we're here for, to work out that we, even though in our separated, divided state, can achieve some sort of royal behemoth, right, with the D. So anyway, this is the song, and I'm going to enjoy singing this because, right. Last year I didn't get to talk about much as well, but covered the basics. I might come on again tomorrow. So much I could talk about, but let me sing this. That's the big realization. That's probably the reason I'm on here tonight. Actually, I made a massive realization regarding. Let me tell you. Think about the guitar strings. Think about the allocated letters of the alphabet to your guitar strings, and now think about mirroring and folding back on one another. And think about what message has been told. Remember, everything is via frequency and vibration. I made that realization tonight, and it's amazing. You'll find the A, D in there, Aeon, right? And you'll find the E and the other E. I just talked about an E and an E going together to formulate the 8, right? So here we go anyway. The war was over and the spirit was broken. The hills were smoking and the men withdrew. We stood on the cliffs, oh, we watched ships slowly sinking to their rendezvous. They signed a treaty and our homes were taken. Once forsaken, they didn't give one damn. Trying to raise a family, end up the enemy. Oh, what went down on the plains of Abraham? Acadian driftwood, gypsy tailwind, call my home, land of snow. Canadian cold front moving in. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. Just get the rest of the verses up. Then some returned to motherland. High command had them cast away, and some stayed on to finish what they started. They never parted, they just built that way. We had kin living south of the border. They're a little older and they've been around. They wrote in a letter, life is a whole lot better. So pack up your sticks, children, and come on down. Acadian driftwood, gypsy tailwind, they call my home the land of snow. Canadian come from the land. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. 50 under zero when the day became a threat. My clothes were wet and I was drenched to the bone. Been out ice fishing, oh, too much repetition makes a man want to leave the only home he's known. Sail out on the Gulf, heading for St. Peter. Nothing to declare, all we had was gone. Broke down on the coast, oh, I heard the most. The people there said you had to keep moving on. Acadian driftwood, gypsy tailwind, they call my home the land of snow. Canadian come from moving. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. Everlasting summer filled with ill contempt. This government has walking in chains. This isn't my turn, oh, this ain't my season. Can't think of one good reason to remain. We worked in the sugar fields up in New Orleans. It was evergreen up until the fly. You could call it a nomad, point you where you're going. Set my compass north, I got winter in my blood. Acadian driftwood, gypsy tailwind, they call my home land of snow. Canadian cold from Oakland. What a way to ride, oh, what a way to go. Say to Agadia, she'd be mounted pale. I named Agadia, fade alarm of Soleil, victory Agadia, Tilam, 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 Shuri Agadia, Tilam, 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 Shuri Agadia, Tilam, 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 Shuri Agadia, Tilam, Tilam, Tilam. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Acadian driftwood. They call my home the land of snow. Canadian cold front moving in. Let me just translate the last bit of French. C'est tu, Agadia, j'ai le mal du pays. Do you know Agadia? Do you know Shangri-La? Do you know paradise, if you will? I'm tired of this country. Ta neige, Agadia, fait de larmes au soleil. Your snow, Agadia, makes rays of the sunshine. J'arrive Agadia, I've arrived in paradise. Teedle teedaloo does not reminisce greatly with Tweedledee and Tweedledum. This is your point. Everything is pointing you back to Alice in Wonderland. Go get reading Alice in Wonderland again. You can make sense of all of this. Robbie Robertson and the band. What can you say? You can pay attention, or you can't. As simple as that. People know the story, and the story is being told in a different format. That's all it is. It's pretty much everything is there to facilitate you in your awakening. So, yeah, how you doing, Tom? Tom. Tom. How you doing, man? Why don't you get involved some more with maybe Nathan's chats, Tom? I'd definitely like to hear you having a chat. How you doing? Glad you're still here. I'm going to head off soon. Rune Thorson, excellent. Thor, oh, come on, Rune. You're not in the know as well, are you? Because Arthur, we are Thor. I am Thor, or are Thor. Thor and his frequency hummer. Yeah, it's via frequency and vibration that we achieve our release. So your name itself is very interesting. There's very many interesting characters with interesting names and avatars. Again, I think pointing us towards the same direction. So I don't know anything about you. Let me just read out your last comment. No, you can't do that. There are too many givens. I mean, for 2018, we have the leader of the Mongolian space program. 2020, Elon Musk must have failed getting anything to space. 2021 is free. Okay, that's well, let's slot a particular date in 2021 into your diary then, right? Just thinking about recently relatively recently, North Korea sending a man to the sun. I think this is all clues and hints. I've often pointed out that the moon and the sun are one and the same. The moon is no separate existence, so we're dealing with a reflection of the face of the sun. Remember this lightsaber I was talking about earlier on. So North Korea, in their sort of joking capacity, are letting you know the truth in a real sense. I see Gem Panda's there. Gem, I asked you that question, and I remember that on Nathan's channel. Why did it call the Apollo moon missions? Fake, as I say, but real, as you say. Why did it call it the Apollo missions? These are opposites. The moon and the sun are opposite quantities. You know, they stand for the complete opposite to one another. So why would they do that with that? It doesn't make sense unless they're telling you, in one sense, that the moon is the sun. And I'm pretty happy that the moon is a reflection of the face of the sun. I can explain all. I can explain full moon. I can explain the phases of the moon in relation to the sun as it reflects off a contoured barrier. And depending on where, and this is a monthly cycle. It's like a sine wave. The sun's projection is projected off the barrier in and around the equator. This is Annalima is explained as well by imagining or thinking about a contoured barrier that's the highest at the equatorial areas and dropping down then to its lowest at the polar area, north and south. Yeah. So once we can think of that, then everything's encompassed, right? The whole heliocentric model is explained. The sphere, the star, what do you call it? The stellar sphere. What is not the stellar sphere? Something similar anyway. Of course, the stars, being at almost infinite distances apart, can never formulate a sphere. So when you describe the stars in terms of anything spherical, you're way off base. But we know that already. But when you think about it in terms of a contoured concave barrier above, well, then it all makes perfect sense. And we are dealing with a hole of mirrors. When you have light energies and water, then it's natural to understand that we have reflections, and that's what we're dealing with. When you take that into account, you'll understand things. Again, the sun, how do you explain the moon? Well, the sun travels in a sine wave. So at the beginning of the month, it's at its highest point against the barrier, and you get no moon. As it traverses down at its lowest point, we have a full moon. That's just a direct reflection of the face of the sun. And that's the truth of the matter. I have to leave it at that point, I think. And celestial sphere, thank you, Jeremy. That's the word I was looking for. It's something to ponder anyway, right? Every man has his own thoughts, and we'll all get there in the end. That's the way I see it. I'm going to come back on tomorrow. Again, at this stage, I could sort of pick any one particular area. I'm sorry, what's the minute time? Oh yeah, I have it. I could pick any one area and talk for ages about it, you know what I mean? It's like if you've ever heard of Buridan's ass. It's a philosophical conundrum, but Buridan's ass, he was placed in the center and at equidistance at corners were placed bales of hay, and the ass starved to death for want of choosing a bale to hay or direction to go in. So yeah, in one sense it's like that. I could talk for ages on Dodo and Paul McCartney, for instance, or Behemoth, or so many different things in between. So this is the whole idea about it all being organic. It's not about having any sort of show, any sort of presentation. It's just talking out loud and expressing what's going on in my mind at this particular point in time. That's the way I look at it. So thank you very much for listening in, and I'll leave you with the usual and say love to all, and you are the power. It's all about us waking up to this realization. So until the next time, thanks again. Oh, of all the money that I spent, I have spent it in good company. And all the harm that I did, asked it was to none but me. No, I've done for want of wit, to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me a pointing glass, good night, and joy be with you all. If I had money enough to spend and leisure time to sit a while, there is a fair lane in town that only has my heart beguiled. Her rosy cheeks, her ruby lips, I own she has my heart enthralled. So fill to me a fountain glass, good night, and joy be with you all. Oh, the comrades that I have, they are sorry for my going away. And all the sweethearts there I have, they wish me one more day to stay. Since it falls into my lot that I should rise and you should know, I'll gently rise and softly call the light to join you. I'll gently rise and softly call the light to join you. Good night, friends. Love you, Steve.